Nice. We have a nice group today. Welcome everybody. So I love that dog Amsterdam. It's so cute. Um, okay, so today is mostly about welcoming the new guys and also showing you around. We do this every Monday, so it's about it's pretty repetitive, but I don't mind because we want to actually take your questions. Um, and maybe in the future we can have. And by the way, Saving Face, can you record this if you don't mind?
Yes, I have it recording right now.
Perfect. Um, yeah, we can make it like a recording, but rather do it. I don't mind to do it over and over. Also because I like the interaction. I'm actually trying to see if I can do it as short as possible, and then take a bunch of questions for you guys. Let's start with anyway, questions first of all from anybody about. In fact, actually, let me give you 1 minute introduction to the entire thing, to the server. Then we take questions. Then we jump on the indicators, and the idea will be even if you have a video, right? And hopefully everybody's watched the video. If you didn't watch the video from my son, made by my son. It's mostly about how to set everything up, but I want to give you a little bit more in-depth explanation of the indicators and how to use them and what to expect from them. Uh, and this is going to be hit in terms of what we do today. But so I invite you to first of all go and browse all the different channels. You don't have to take everything in all at once. There is a lot of information. The group is growing. That is amazing. Um, we are trying to help each other. So feel like this is you're a family, right? I'm Italian, so I'm trying to make this like a big, huge Italian family. This more or less 300 people. This is many people showed up for Christmas. When I was a kid, and everybody was smoking, and I was the only one not smoking. It was like crazy, but it was fun too. Grandma, little newborn child. It was so fun. I miss that. So browse around, uh, ask people, ask me. You can always DM me if there is like a personal issue or some situation that you want to discuss directly. If I don't get to you immediately, it's because I get a lot of messages and I'm trying to do so many things. But I really care about everybody and get to know you. So feel free to contact me. If a question is valuable to everybody else and you don't feel, and you feel to share it, just do it in the group. And then there's a suggestion channel that I'm trying as best as I can to follow. And I always tell me, okay, today I'm going there, I'm going to look at every single suggestion and see if I can implement them. But, I'm a little behind that. But feel free to write your suggestions. Also because if I don't do it, then somebody else makes a mod. Saving Face has made tons of mods that are so amazing and useful. Um, so feel free to share. There are no rules because I don't like rules, too much. If in particular if people respect each other, this is how it should be. We don't need rules when that is going on. And so far, I didn't see even one single troll or anybody being like out of control. You can, uh, light banter is perfectly fine. You can play around and make jokes. There is a meme channel if you want to put memes there. But try to be respectful of each other. That is really the only rule that applies to the server, and uh, um, and be useful. Everybody's busy. Everybody has different skills. So if you have a skill that you think it's useful and you have the time, you want to contribute, there is again another channel. We have a channel for everything. There is a channel where you can put your contribution. If you know a little bit of coding with Pine script, you can give an indicator for free to everybody else. So you can make a mode, to the existing indicators. So do whatever it feels good. But the entire goal is to help each other so we can be stronger together. The entire idea of this channel is, at least on the horizon of 10 years. So you're trapped in this Discord for the next 10 years, guys. But the idea will be, let's reach 1 million, and then, let's have a big party somewhere. Maybe we are going to have a party before that. It will be really cool. Maybe we can rent a place and meet, all of us meet, and I can cook for everybody then. Because I grew up in the restaurant business, and I actually love to cook too. But anyway, so yeah, maybe we reach 1 million Bitcoin. We ride this. It's okay. We ride the waves, right? We have this terminology of riding the waves or riding the cycle, and we can make money, right? That is one of the goals, because it's not about money, it's about multiplying our Bitcoin so we can be free, right? We can be independent and free. That is the goal for all of us in this channel. It goes beyond money, because money is just a mean, right? So we can do good things for our families, for the world, and so on. So that is the goal. And we have the tools, right? We have the tools. We are going to refine this tool. Basically, with this entire idea, this channel is very dynamic. We are never still. We are improving, adding more things, more features, more knowledge. And the entire idea will be one day, if we can even do a percentage of what these tools tell us we can do. I calculated extreme cases. It wasn't even extreme because, if you really wanted to go all crazy, one could even use leverage, but without leverage, and leverage is even a tool if you do it very cautiously with a little bit of your funds, But I didn't even add it there, and we still got maybe around 300 times, something like 320 times if you wanted to round it to 300. Now 300 not percent, but pair, right? So between year and 10 years. This is how much alpha there is in these tools. Now, that is an extreme case where you get everything right, where the bubble are going to behave like they behave in the past, that we don't know. But they still considering these quote unquote diminishing returns. They are not diminishing return if you know what you're doing. If you're buying at the bottom, selling at the top, using the tools, options maybe, shorting when we go down. If you use all this knowledge, you can make 300 pair, keep between here and 10 years from now. So that is the entire idea that we want to. And don't use this against me. Oh, I didn't do 300. You promised 300. I'm not promising anything. I'm telling you this is an extreme case of what these tools and understanding the cycles and planning ahead can give you if you do it right. So it will be a fraction of that, But this is what we are trying to help each other with. Try to see how much we can do of this huge big upside that we have in front of us. So again, welcome to the server. Use all the little by little. Takes time. Get familiar with all the different things, and you can participate as little, because everybody has busy lives, and as much as you can. So we have go under the event. So today on Mondays we introduce, we welcome the new people. We give a small introduction to the channel, to the server. In fact, I already talked for half an hour. And then we go to the indicators. And we take any questions from you. And then on Tuesday and Friday, we have these classes. It's the same time, PST. It's when we usually wake up, because I go to sleep like 8 in the morning or something like that. And I am basically a vampire at this point. But yeah, so we have two classes. With one on Friday, on Tuesdays a little bit less technical. We talk about whatever happens with Bitcoin, or whatever is in our minds. Then on Friday, I tend to make it more focused. We have different tools. We are maybe learning. We started to learn, for example, how to code in PineScript. So will be the next class we're going to have on Friday. We'll continue to do that. We go in the details of how to make a little code with PineScript. PineScript is the language behind TradingView, so you can make your own indicators that can be helpful to add to our main indicators, other things that are useful. Plus, you learn a little bit how to code. Then eventually, we are going to show also to do Python if you want to do charts using data from the chain, information, on-chain information. So we are going to teach you all that. And these classes are all included in your benefit as Patreon supporters. So you have everything is free in the channel besides you paying the subscription every month. So get involved. Try to get as much as you can. On Thursday, the last event that we have is this club where we read books. Right now we're reading Scale. When we are finished with Scale, it will take quite a bit of time because it's a big book. We're going to study other books that are relevant, to trading and physics and trading and different interesting topics like that. Or maybe we read some articles or whatever. It's useful for us to do what we're trying to do. And so this is it. There is a lot of things going on in the channel. So we try to get as much as you can, but you don't have, of course, any obligation. Even if it would be nice to see you once in a while, say hello, get at least once of a meeting once in a while. Try to show that you're participant of all this. Anyway, I'm going to stop here in terms of introduction. Let's see if anybody has a question or a concern. And also be direct with your concern. Don't ever feel that you don't have a voice. You can always, if you do it respectfully and you have a suggestion or something you don't like, just tell us so we can try to fix it, right? That is the entire point. Go ahead and ask any question. So you can do it in two ways. There is like a little bubble there on top of the general channel. See where the speaker is. You can click that bubble and a little window will open with a chat. And so you can write your question in the chat if you don't feel like to speak. Or if you want to speak, you can. I don't know if you muted yourself or I muted you. I think you muted yourself, but you can say hello. Just even if you want to say hello, just say hello. Or you can ask a question. You can do both. It would be nice if everybody says hello so we can get to know each other. But go ahead, Francesco.
So hello
Hey,
from
ciao.
Brazil. Ciao. Located in São Paulo. And
Nice.
that we know more or less where each and everybody are located.
Cool. Do you have a question, or do you want to just say hi?
No, I have a question. I have a question regarding the technical indicator that
Yes.
I got today. So my question is regarding the curve, the white curve that we have. Okay, that it's straightening at the end. It's because I believe it's because of the halving, and every halving, it's straightening the curve. But how can I interpret it, the white curve? So basically, I can see that some of the if you check on the curve, let's say from April 2000, let's go to December, the peak December 24 December 2021, we can see that there is a decrease in pricing about the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
As it is acting like a moving average, Like I can interpret
No,
it like
we
that,
don't do any
or
moving
not at all.
averages. Yeah, we don't do
Okay.
everything we do is predictive and is based on models because the idea, you can always get moving averages, and there is some usefulness in the moving averages. You
Mm-hmm.
can always add them on top. It's a free thing to add, and plus, if you take our classes on Friday, we can even show you how to make moving averages, so you can make any moving average you want. Um,
Okay.
this is what we were doing, I think, last time, basically. Um, but yeah, all the indicators are trying to be, they're based on the knowledge of the power law and they are predictive.
Okay.
But they are
Okay.
models. So the entire idea of a model is that it's useful because it's a simplification. If it was not a simplification, then it will not be useful because basically we'll try to reproduce every single little thing that the price it does, and unless you are a magician and you can see the future, you will basically kind of replicate the past without any ability to tell us what happened in the future. uh, but there is even a way of making a predictor that is basically saying, and many times, I don't know if you guys have ever tried, I don't know what is your skill, but I had fun with sometimes with so-called AI experts where they train these very complicated AI models, and they ask, try to use the past to predict the future. And if you don't train it correctly and you try to avoid stupid answer, they answer you, and basically they reproduce the entire chart shifted by one by one day. So you see the chart, but now it's shifted by one day. It basically is like saying, the best prediction for the price tomorrow is the price today.
It's a
you know, but it's not bad as a prediction because it kind of, but it's a trivial, right? Just everybody can do that prediction, It's a pretty stupid prediction. It doesn't help us, In fact, the AI will tell you that, like if you don't do it correctly, but it's not a wrong answer. It's just a stupid answer, right? It's a stupid possible answer. Just shift everything by one, and it will look like, if you don't look closely, it will look like, whoa, how is possible that the AI is predicting? Well, it's not predicting anything. It's just shifting everything by one. Like you will have to go close and say, oh, it's shifting. Otherwise, when it comes out, it seems like it predicted every single day perfectly. Like, how is it even possible? It's not. It's just shifting everything by one. It's a stupid prediction, right? So, yeah, I mean, your model needs to be simple because then it needs to catch the main features. And I want to tell you to hold for a second because when we go to the chart, I will remember your question and we go into the details of what that Y line means. Is that fair? Just wait, hold for a
perfect.
second. Okay, but it's good that you answer, so I know what people want to answer about the chart, and I will try to answer when we discuss the chart. Any other questions? Any other question before we start to look at the question about the channel, questions about the events that we have? You can look them up in, if you go all the way on top of the Discord channel, there is events, so you can check them out when they are. I think you can even put out notifications. And at a certain point, if anybody wants to join as a moderator, we already have two or three people. So as you get more familiar with the channel and you want to get more involved, you can get a moderator. It's all based on being a volunteer. Uh, maybe you get extra lasagna when we all meet one day. In talking about lasagna, by the way, I'm going to start a series about cooking Italian food. So if you're interested, next week we will start. It will be Bitcoin related because we have a Bitcoin apron and we talk about Bitcoin, but also we cook and I show you how to learn how to make lasagna, any other.
Bucatini alla matriciana.
Alla matriciana, okay. We will do that for sure. Very, very authentic, like exactly like we do it in Italy, not Italian American food, but real Italian food. It's completely different. Anyway, so any other questions?
I just wanted to drop in and say hi from Texas, and
Hi.
I'm really looking forward to seeing your lasagna recipe. And a question that I had, we can cover it when we're going through the chart, is how you generated the 300 pair return, like how you scaled the bets for where you were at in time with how the price was according to the power law, if you adjusted your bets along the way.
Mm-hmm. Very good question. And I can answer that before we look at the chart. Anybody else?
I'm from Tennessee.
Nice. And I am
I'm from
San Diego.
Australia.
From Australia? Oh, that's
All over the
such a
place.
wonderful.
Yeah, the whole world.
Yeah, global community. Yeah.
I love that accent. It's so cool. So cool.
Where in Italy are you from?
I'm actually, well, I was born in Genova, that is on the northwest coast, but it's a big city, like a million people city. It's on the sea. It's where Columbus is from. But my parents are from the south, so they migrated. They went up the north because the north is where all the more financial opportunities are. Particularly, when I was before I was born. So it's actually good in terms of my cooking when I will explaining my show, because I have recipe from the south, from my mom. She's from Sicily, from my dad. Every region in Italy has like special foods, so I grew up with all this exposure to all different type of Italian foods. That is really amazing. But yeah, so then I moved to the United States about 30 years ago to continue my studies. I got scholarships all the way through. Fortunately, didn't have to pay anything, mostly because people who want to study math and physics are supported, because there are so few of us. So it's relatively easy to find scholarship, if you work hard. So I didn't have to pay for my undergraduate. I didn't have to pay for my grad studies. It was pretty cool. And then I was teaching as a college professor for a few years. And then I changed. I went to neuroscience. I did different things. And actually that is good in terms of being able to apply the same tools of physics and math to different fields, because to me it's the same thing. It's all about studying patterns, studying waves, these log charts. I did them in astronomy when I was studying astrophysics. I did it in neuroscience. And, the same thing was there. Like, I was finding new things. I even have a patent, because I was applying all these tools from physics that neuroscientists don't know about. Because, they are a little bit better scientists than economists, much better scientists than economists, but they still don't have all, the understanding of a physicist about numbers, about math. And so whenever I was looking at this data from neuroscience, in particular the brain, the brain waves, I was discovering things like almost like low-hanging fruits that for a physicist were obvious, but when I was asking these questions to my colleagues I was in medicine school, they had no clue. Like, they didn't know what I was talking about, and that gave me an incredible advantage. So same thing is applying with Bitcoin, where these things are actually relatively low-hanging fruits. I was very surprised how nobody ever noticed this power law in Bitcoin. How is possible? How is possible? It's because the people who look at this kind of art stuff are not physicists usually. They are economists. They use their different understanding, supply, demand, all these things that really don't apply to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a different beast.
That was my only. My main question is, as you said, how's it? I've looked at, everyone has a Patreon. They're all trying to sell you on their Bitcoin course, but I chose yours yesterday because if you're right about what you say, it's pretty much revolutionary. And I can't really believe that no one else has seen it, as you said. It seems so simple and obvious when you actually analyze the data, as you have. Price
Yeah, right.
everything else.
And these are crazy because how come nobody ever saw before Galileo? How come, and it's not that I'm trying to compare myself with Galileo, but before Galileo, somebody could have taken two stones, one big stone and one small stone, drop them like a child, right? And notice that they kind of reach the ground at the same time. Now, feather is a different thing, but two stones, a big stone, a small stone, they reach the ground at the same time. You can watch it with your eyes. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But, for thousands of years, you ask the highest scholar, the most cultivated, educated person in the kingdom, or whatever they had, in that he went to Athens, he went to Rome, ask a question, they will tell you, no, the big stone reaches the ground first. It didn't mean by a small amount, it meant by a big amount. And it's so obvious, it's like, what are you talking about? Do the experiment. How come nobody ever done it? I don't understand it. It's so crazy, right? Then Galileo comes about and say, no, this is how it goes. And they don't be distracted by the leaf, because the leaf is the exception, and I can explain what is going on. It's a matter of air drag and everything. But, they didn't understand that. And so it's weird because, it's relatively simple to take a log of data, and okay, it takes a little bit more to think about to take the log of time because it's so unusual, for most people, most data analysts, because they don't do that, in particular with financial assets. But, this is what Kepler did with the planets, and the planets' orbit is time, right? So what he did is, like, in fact, science started with finding a power law. Kepler found the power law of the distance of a planet versus the time it takes the planet to go around the sun, and it's a beautiful power law. The exponent is 2/3, and then for 100 years we didn't know why, and then Newton explained where the 2/3 came from. It comes from the law of gravity. But again, nobody ever done it before Kepler, and it's a power law in time. So when they say, oh, it's a different, I don't understand how you can take the log of time. You can, of course. And this was one of the economists that actually replied a long time ago to our model. That he wrote an entire article, and one of the first things he says, you really cannot take the log of time. Why you cannot take the I can't take the log of time how much I want. Stop me if you can. It's like, what the heck?
I didn't even know log was a thing until like a few months ago when I first saw your post.
Yeah, right. And it should be something that they teach in school, because it's actually one of the coolest things. It's relatively simple because logs, once you start to see them, they are not that difficult. Particularly the log of 10, right? 102, 1003. Yeah, it's easy. To take the exponent of that number, right? It's not a difficult concept. You take the log of both sides, and you get these laws that are everywhere in social phenomena, everywhere. It could be even something that you excite people about, right? Because they can maybe see, oh, wow, science is relatively simple, and they tell us so much about trees and animals and stars and people, even people. Yes, people behave like power laws. This is the other thing that people repeat, and they are trained not to think in that way. Like, all these Austrian economics that basically say, oh, people cannot be expressed by math. It's not true. It's actually the opposite. Even the number of terrorist attacks are power laws. So I don't know why, but had to be that was a physicist over there that was also a Bitcoiner and thought about that, and we did, right? It's just that we did it later. For example, Gold 66. I don't know if you follow this other X account. His name is Fred Krueger. If you don't
Yeah, sure
follow
do.
him, you do. He has a friend that is a PhD from Harvard, and the astrophysicist, and he did it in two independently. He did it like I think a couple of years after he did it, and he wrote an entire articles about it on Medium about how this power law model was the best model that he ever found. Um, you know, when there was this guy H.C. Berger. He's not a physicist, but he's a very smart computer scientist. He saw my Reddit post and he thought I was an idiot because I say this guy has for sure done a mistake. And look at this straight line. It's impossible. Bitcoin is not like that. He thought this is what he said to me. In fact, even in an interview, they interviewed him. Say, I saw this graph on Reddit, Bitcoin Reddit, and I thought this guy is an idiot. When I noticed he wrote right that he did the log on the X chart, or X-axis. His name was Econophys Swan, so maybe the guy knows what he's talking about. So I started to pay attention and started to reproduce it myself because I didn't believe it. See, this is how you do it. You try to reproduce it yourself. This is the beauty of science. You don't have to believe anybody. You don't have to trust anybody. And then he showed himself that yes, it works. And then from that moment on, say I cannot understand why people show this other type of charts. This is the way to show Bitcoin because it shows this unstoppable growth of Bitcoin along this crazy straight line, and everybody should be familiar with that. And he tried to do it. He tried to contact me. He was not able. This is what he says. I don't know why because I was not all over the place not like now, but I had a nice internet presence anyway. But this is what he said, that he tried to contact me and let me know, but he started to publicize this thing. And he was all over the place also for some time, people associated him with this model. But, he did a good job in spreading the news around. It was not as popular as S2F. It is complete garbage because it's based on an illusion. I don't know if you saw some of my videos about it, but that's my position about it, quote-unquote model. But, I don't know. I don't know why people didn't see it before I did. People started to see Metcalfe. There is even a published paper on using Metcalfe to describe the behavior of the price. But they missed that piece where they didn't have a good model for adoption. So they couldn't make the full connection, the price itself was also a power law. So because Metcalfe is a power law, it basically says that the value of a network goes up with the square of the user, so that relationship is a power law in itself. So if you do a graph of price versus addresses from the on-chain data, you get this beautiful power law. And I was one of the first to find it in 2014. And again, instead of publishing the paper, I was stupid because I was posting the result on Reddit. I could have done both. I should have done both. My desire to put it on Reddit was to reach the community because I wanted to share this instead of keeping it for myself or some specialist, some other scientist that would read the paper and not the average person, But I did it before these guys, and these guys, of course, didn't know about me. One of them is a famous physicist, by the way, that works in finance. And he found power laws, like the Metcalfe law. He didn't have a full picture. Like I say, now I know that addresses go up like power laws. Price is a power law. Hash rate is a power law. Everywhere there are power laws with Bitcoin. But he has even a paper where he shows the hodling time of Bitcoin. There is a power law. If you look at how long somebody holds, and then you make a graph of how many of these people there are versus how long they hold, It doesn't look like a bell curve, right? It's not like that. It looks like a power law. It's really cool. There are power laws everywhere in Bitcoin. And people started to find them here and there. The big deal is to find price and time, because time is what allows you to make projection in the future. Because if you know that the Bitcoin did this thing, something that so many people don't still realize, that they're trying to hammer over and over again, is not going to change this behavior, because Bitcoin did it since it was like a fraction of a dollar. Like how you can, in fact, you can go all the way to when it was like nothing, like when people were selling one Bitcoin, when they were selling 10,000 Bitcoin for $1. You take that, the power law goes through that data. We have like data from the earliest possible transactions. Exchange didn't even exist. When you continue, and the power law did this behavior that is called scale invariant. It's scale invariant because if you focus on the scale, the change in scale in price, change in scale in time, it's proportional. It's like a straight line. This is why you see this straight line in the log chart. This is what it means. The scale of time and the scale of price change proportionally in a very consistent manner. And that is so unique. There is no other asset that does that. Nothing else. In particular, over all these crazy orders of magnitude. And it's like going literally from a speck of dust to a mountain as big as the Himalaya. When you reflect on that in your thinking, and you hold that thought for a little while, say, okay, it was this thing that in 15 years grew from being a speck of dust all the way to the Himalaya mountain, and it did it exactly the same way, all the way through. Okay, yes, he had these bubbles, but the general path, and you can see some of this graph where I show it. The bubbles go up to somewhere, and then they go back to the trend. It's almost like the bubble didn't exist. And even between the bubble, you can kind of draw an imaginary line, and basically Bitcoin left the path to come back to it, like almost like an invisible hand is guiding Bitcoin to do this thing. Exactly where it will have been if a bubble was not there at all. It's almost like the bubble didn't exist. It cancel each other. The part that goes up cancel the part that goes down perfectly. And it goes back not to a random place, but to the trend. It's absurd. Why is doing that? This is why we are making an entire science. So yeah, in one end, it was a very low-hanging fruit for me, but at the same time, this is how many discoveries are. Like somebody does it first, and then everybody else say, "Oh, why didn't I think about that?" This is how it works. I feel so honored and overwhelmed that was me, because it's amazing to be associated. And you're right, by the way, Gold. I like what you're saying. If you are right? Because as a scientist, you always have that thing in mind that your theory, whatever, how good or strong, how seems to be supported by fact, can ask to be falsifiable. It means you have to give a chance for somebody else to come and say, okay, there is some problem in the theory here, you did this wrong, or there is this counterexample that kind of brings down your theory. It's not going down. I don't think it will ever go down completely, because the data is there, as being seen by so many other people with expertise, like even this Fred that he has PhD from Harvard, from Stanford. I tried to call his attention for a long time. I was posting in his channel, his X account, hey, look at me, look at my chart, and ignore me for some time because probably he's very busy. And then finally he responded and he reposted my post saying, it's obvious that Bitcoin is in a power law train, from day one, or something like that. He made a comment like this, because anybody, and you, once he saw the chart, he will recognize it. Anybody with worth his salt, that has some math knowledge, sees this chart and has no doubt, that, okay, this is impossible to happen by chance. So at the minimum, we will have to explain why Bitcoin did this for 15 years. It's part of Bitcoin history now. It cannot be denied. It's not coming up. It's not like with the S2F where if you study it, then it turns out to be bullshit, because it is. It's wrong. It's just the entire concept, how he built the construction of his model is based on a very bad case of correlation doesn't mean causation. That is like, people could use that as a textbook example of that.
Hey, Professor.
Yeah, one thing that doesn't make sense to me still is how supply and demand impacts the price of Bitcoin. Is it so if Bitcoin was created to mirror a natural phenomenon and follow, as you said, the power law of growth, but how does that impact the supply and demand? Because ultimately it's still people buying and selling, right? Does that mean that people are acting in a way that's... Do you sort of see what I'm trying to say? What's the cause and effect?
Yeah.
Because ultimately people are still buying at the low and selling at the top and vice versa. So why are they doing it there?
There are two things, right? So to understand Bitcoin, you have to understand these two things. There is the overall trend. And in a sense, you can almost forget about the bubbles because, like we say, right, if you see, I posted today, I don't know if you ever saw this graph where I have this red line. I will make an updated version. You see the red line at the bottom, and then you see the bubbles where the price goes away from the trend, and then it comes back to it. It is also very precise timing. It takes 1 year to go up, 1 year to go down, and then for 2 years you stay on this red line, almost perfectly. But even in these 2 years where we leave a bubble and we reach the top, and then we leave a trend, and we reach the top, and then we come back to exactly where we will have been if we just follow the trend. It's ridiculous almost, right? So it's almost basically like the bubble didn't exist. That is one way of understanding it. The other is there are two different phenomena where in fact they are on top of each other. One, you have this overall trend, and then you have these periodic bubbles that have their reason, their origin, and we actually they are part of a theory. If you read the full theory, I don't know if you read the full theory, you have this long Medium article. It's in resources. If you go under resources, I wrote this long article. I'm in the process of writing a real scientific paper that I will submit to some kind of journal, scientific journal. But I'm writing a book eventually. It's called The Physics of Bitcoin, where all these things are going to be put together. But we have also these beautiful videos that my son made. So guys, if you can, please go and watch the videos, like and subscribe to the channel, because it's another way to support our team, because I'm trying to create a team around this. But it's explained there. It has to do more with Moore's law than any supply shock or anything like that. So this periodic phenomena, it's there because basically Satoshi wanted to compensate for the Moore's law, and then this creates some kind of update to the infrastructure. The miners join in because they need to buy new machines, etc. And it's almost like Christmas, right? People do certain things during Christmas, not because Christmas, you can say is associated with the longest. This is how it started. In fact, this is why we do Christmas, because it has a physical reason. That is the longest night in the year, right? Around that time, to have a solstice, 21st of December. That is the solstice, winter solstice. And so it's the longest time of year. People wanted to celebrate because we had all these kind of, superstitions that, this when, from that moment on, the night started to become less, right? So it was kind of going towards the light of spring, the light of summer, when the days are becoming longer. For people that their life depended on these nature cycles, because, they had to know when to put the plants, when, to do the harvest, all these things. These were very fundamental things. And it's not because and so there was a real physical reason to celebrate Christmas and to have this. In fact, I should write an article about this now that I'm thinking about. There was a real physical reason based on the planet moving around the sun and seasons, and but at the same time, the excitement, the symbology, all the things that people added to it were adds on, things that are part of human nature because we like to dance around the fire, we like to the smell of pine trees, so we added all these things to this event and made it much bigger, when the pagans started it, but when Christians stole it from the pagans, Jesus was not born in December, even, they made it being born in December because they wanted to associate Jesus with this very fundamental holiday, literally a holy day, but it was a holy day before Christianity. And so the analogy is very strong there because I think this is what happens after the halving. It's basically a Bitcoin Christmas. We get all excited, we know that has some significance, and it does. It's when the miners need to buy new machines to keep up, because there is this halving. The only way they can keep up is by having better machines that are updated and they have new chips, etc. And then basically they break even. They go back to where they were before. It's not punishing them. It's just not not allowing them to have a free lunch with this improvement of the chip in power, and efficiency. So I don't know if in the video we say that Satoshi planned it in that way. Probably was in his mind that it works so perfectly, like it's actually break even. I'm not sure 100%. It's just that Bitcoin in his wisdom, so I think Satoshi planted the seed and he had all these beautiful intuitions about how to make this wonderful system. And then the system, because of all these feedback loops, adapted itself and it works perfectly. But if you look at the data, like again, I have videos because I produce material every day and I never say something without really researching it and going deep in the data. And we have all the data that we like because of the on-chain data. You look at supply and you make a graph of supply versus, issuance of these coins versus price, and there is no correlation at all, like zero. So people don't respond as much as we know. People don't respond to these issues of supply and demand. I think the only way there is demand, quote unquote, but it's not the right term. The right term is adoption. So there is it's different, right? So it's not that people are asking for Bitcoin or want Bitcoin because they want to buy something, like you buy toilet paper or you buy food. These are things that you consume, and so even the word demand, that doesn't really apply for these things. And also comparison with other things like silver or gold are all bad comparisons. Bitcoin is neither of these things. That's a sum of the quality of gold, and it's an okay comparison historically, but Bitcoin transcends all these things. It's not a consumable for sure. It's not gold, and it's much better than gold. Even sellers says that. There is no you're insulting Bitcoin when you call it digital gold. It's so much better. And what it is, I think it's, all the analogies break down, but the best analogy is like a nation, it's like a city, and by being involved with this new thing, you became like a citizen of this city. And so you're investing in the city. You're investing in this infrastructure. So you're like an investor, and it's not stocks because there is no CEO, etc. It's like basically a city, and we are building the city. We are also part of the city. We are involved by spreading the news. By making more Bitcoiners, by telling other people, by making a Discord channel like this, by being involved in the Discord channel, by we actively, and there are people that are more they contribute more and some or less. Even that is a power law, because usually in any social network, in any team, you always know, right? When you have a club or something, there is like 20% that does every 80% of work, right? That is called Pareto, the Pareto's law, another Italian fellow that played with power laws. It's a power law, right? If you look at hands, anything, that they tend to have a small group of people that does most of the work. This is how it works, whatever it is, for whatever reason, and it follows, everybody else goes through this power law, basically, where you have, uh, some small number of people that does basically nothing, and everybody else is in between. And so, yeah, this is how it works. So we need to change the terminology, not because we want to create a fad, or you want to create a cult. Okay, we are going to talk in this way. It's just the wrong concepts. Like, there is no place from all what I'm saying. And again, I could be wrong, but nobody really that I know has done such detailed study of all the aspects of Bitcoin. Okay, where supplies came in, where demand comes in, where adoption comes in. All these things all connect with each other. We have only one theory that does that. As far as I know, there is no contender, because everybody else maybe has a little piece or talks about a little piece. But all these things come together in a circle and influence each other. It's just one theory, the power law theory. So wrong or right, it's the only attempt that tries to explain all the aspects of Bitcoin. And so the interpretation of the theory of what is happening is that there is demand, and people want to be involved. And this involvement happens with the cube of time, basically like the spread of a virus, because there are these many examples of viruses or illnesses that go with the power of 3 in time. AIDS is like that, for example. Why that happens, etc. People publish entire papers explaining what is happening. So I know it sounds bad to compare it with the virus, but it's good, right? It's the virus of the mind. It's like the joke, the cowbell, right? What does he say? I have a fever, and the only cure is more cowbell. So I have a fever, the only cure is more Bitcoin, or more Bitcoiners. You want more adoption, then make the price goes up with the square. And if you combine these two things, you have everything beside the bubble, and then the bubble are explained by FOMO, mostly FOMO. It's like Christmas, like I said. People getting excited about this happening. We know that there is this event called the halving. People associate. They can always think that, oh, I'm running out of Bitcoin, but I don't know. And you can tell me, and even if it was the case, right? People do a lot of things thinking they are motivated by one reason, but then really what is happening is something else, like, I don't think there are a lot of people thinking, I'm running out of Bitcoin, we're running out of Bitcoin, let me buy some, Maybe it's a component of your reason why you're doing things, but it's really because you really want to be involved. You want Bitcoin because you believe in Bitcoin, you like Bitcoin, because there are a lot of things that are running out, and you are not jumping and paying, $70,000 a piece for such a thing, It's because you believe in the project, you see the value in it, you understand the importance, and sure, the fact that it has a finite supply is one of the beautiful things of Bitcoin, because it makes it non-dilutable, So when you invest in this infrastructure, when you invest in this city, you know that some fucker doesn't come and start to print a bunch of Bitcoin, and then it's not even the printing, because imagine somebody printed and then distributed equally in proportion to how many Bitcoin you have. Nothing will change. So it's not even the printing, so it will be still stupid and a waste of time. and energy-wise to do it. But in theory, it's not even the fact that more coins are produced. What really bad is that, like with fiat, that somebody's in charge, and then they do it, they distribute the new money to their friends. That is what is really fucks everybody else up, because they give it to the bank multiply that, and they give it to their, to the people they like and they want. And, it's all basically tyranny. They decide what to do with that money, and it's not giving it to us for sure. And so that is a problem. And Satoshi resolved it with, you know what? We are not going to have any of that. No shit, because he could have done it democratically, right? We were coins before Bitcoin. There were projects like Bitcoin that people were thinking about, because Bitcoin was not the first one. There were people writing papers trying to create such systems. He didn't come from nothing. Satoshi didn't come and come up with this idea. People were building something very close to Bitcoin, but his original incredible idea was, I'm going to have a fixed cap. Other people try to think about this, how much money do we need? And the answer for them was, like the closest one was, oh, maybe through democracy, where people vote through their coins. It would have been a mess. Imagine if right now everybody, after some time, but see what happened with that size of the blocks. There was all this horrible fight, and it was very dispersing for Bitcoin. It was like not good for the community. It was resolved, and it showed that, Bitcoin is resilient. But imagine if we had a fight like that on a regular basis, about how many Bitcoin should be there, and we decided democratically. Democracy is good for certain things, other things is not good. It's better to resolve it in this way, where Satoshi says it's fixed, so we don't have to argue anymore. Enough. But that is only really one of the few functions of the cap, and the fact that it's not dilutable, that is amazing. But it's not people, I don't think people, the real fundamental reason why people buy Bitcoin is because we're running out of it. It's stupid, because if you look at the charts that I'm showing in the theory, but also in the video, long-term holders, they sell at the top. They sell. They are actually the cause of why the market crashes, because they started to sell so much. They get rid of they try to get gains. They are cashing in, and it's good, because that creates dynamic in the system, brings in more buyer. Now, unfortunately, there are some people that buy on the top, but this is why we are trying to be savvy. We are trying to learn. We are trying to avoid that. And some people maybe need to do it once in their life, so they learn something about how Bitcoin works. Some people are like that. They need hard lessons. So everybody gets the Bitcoin they deserve, like Sailor says. But some people leave. That is also a test. Some people get so upset about this, but buying the top, and then they see crashing. They don't understand the cycle. They leave. Okay, I'm sorry for them. I wish they stayed, but if this is what they got out of this, then maybe they were not ready. Maybe they come back another time, at a much higher price. Maybe they never come back. I don't know, But it's a truth that we are becoming more and more of us in a very fast pace. T-cube, that is very fast. It looks like a hockey stick on a linear chart. And that all cube, then it becomes a 6 when you go to price, because every 2 of us makes the price go up by 4. Every 3 of us makes the price go up by 9. Every 4 of us makes the price goes up by 16. It's crazy and beautiful, and everything works perfectly. And there is no one single place where you can say, oh, this is where supply and demand, supply shocks, the fact we are running out of Bitcoin. There is no place for that. Where do you want to put it? It doesn't come up at all in how the dynamics works. And it's not just me making up this story. The data says so,
Hey, Professor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of like triggered a thought in my head here with I think that it comes down to a paradigm shift for people during adoption, because we haven't seen an asset or a security that works in this way, with this kind of an adoption. Most people are used to seeing things like stocks, and those stocks require something like a stock split. But we're not looking at stock splits, and I've heard people on the street refer to the halving as a stock split, which shows that there's no understanding.
Absolutely.
And then I think almost more like every single time another person adopts is like another stock split. So it's thousands or hundreds of thousands of times a day, perhaps, as people are buying in. And it's split into a smaller and smaller and smaller unit, but that unit is the same value as what you started. So if I had one, now I have two. It's just on a much bigger scale. I think it's just a paradigm shift, and society hasn't caught up, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. It is a huge paradigm shift. In fact, this is why, sometimes I push all these think about scarcity, etc. It's not that I'm trying to take away the beautiful thing that is having this fixed supply, right? It's an amazing thing. I'm going to write eventually an entire article about how this looks like, what nature does. Nature has this thing called conservation of energy, conservation of momentum, conservation of angular momentum, conservation of charge. Nature does this. Every time you create something, because you can go from energy to matter, right? I don't know if you know this. First of all, in the Big Bang, that is what happened. Everything came from the universe being just energy in the beginning, and then we had all the other particles. But it happens all the time in nature, different phenomena, but also in our labs when we take very high energy, and you see this particle coming out from nothing. And usually what happens is, and it's never violated. You see a positive particle. So if you started from nothing, and so you're going to have a charge, for example, you need to have the two things that come out from this nothing. They need to have a positive and a negative charge, because they together then you get back zero. It's a conservation of charge principle, and the same thing happens with Bitcoin, because every time you make a transaction, you can think almost like it's a positive particle. So you're sending somebody a positive particle, and then your loss becomes a negative particle, right? Because you're losing some Bitcoin in your wallet, and that is like a negative value, a negative particle. So you have two particles, one positive and one negative, and the sum of these two particles is zero. It's a conservation principle. It's a conservation of money principle. If you're thinking in that way, again, you see the beauty of this thing. It looks like nature. It looks like this wisdom of nature. We need a new vocabulary. We need a new way of thinking about this that doesn't have anything to do with normal financial assets. There are no parallels. Because Bitcoin is so different from anything else. And using all the language that we learn from other things like gold and commodities and stocks doesn't really apply. It's completely different thing, a completely different phenomena. And yes, there is a price, people are trading it, maybe at the local level where, like daily transactions and daily selling and buy, it makes sense because you can still think like you're trading something. But that is like what happens at the level of tree. If you look at the forest is a completely different entity, with these little things that, yes, made of all the trees, but as a whole, it behaves very different. Like, for example, if you think about ants, right, the individual ant behavior cannot explain really the behavior of the entire ant colony. The colony is its own animal in a sense. You could almost think, like a human body, a person, right? Sure, of course, when I say cannot explain it, you can still try to go there and look at all the trillions of cells in the body and try to figure out how they interact. You will go crazy, right? it's much easier to think about the human being as a single individual, and then you measure the temperature, you measure the blood flow, how much potassium you are in your body, things that are more of a macroscopic level, and then you can explain the human being, then try to explain love, or giving a kiss to your girlfriend, it's all chemical reaction, but it goes to another level, So we want to use this new language that I'm trying to build, and it's just, like anything in science, is a community effort. This is why you should participate. Come up with new terminology, come up with new ideas, new principles, because we can include them in the theory. We can make the theory together with other scientists too, coming and developing. Okay, I think we need to add this to the theory. Feel free, help me out, because we should come up with a new terminology, new ideas, new vocabulary. If anybody knows how to do Wikipedia, maybe we should have like a wiki ourselves with everything related to the power law, and you can edit it, add, come up with new concept, because it's an effort that we should all do as a group and together as a community to come up with a new way of seeing Bitcoin, because Bitcoin in the end, is almost a mirror for what we are trying to do for the future. We are starting with the money because it's one of the most essential things for humans. I never thought like that. I kind of almost despise money all my life because, I was in my mind, in my head, I am a scientist, I don't have, somebody's going to pay me a salary, this is all what I need to know about money. But then as I started to think about these things, I realized, no, money is so essential in terms of how we interrelate with each other, where we put our value. So it's something that it's almost like a symbol for human value. That is one of the most important things in life, meaning, meaning. It's about meaning. And meaning is what makes us different from animals, because we give meaning to things around us and to ourselves and our interactions. And this is what really is the essence of being a human, finding meaning in things. And money is one of the most powerful tools because it allows to make meaning universal, right? Because you go beyond barter, right? And then it's symbolic. That is the other thing that we do as humans. We make symbols, right? And it's powerful. It's the most powerful thing, I think, right now in the world, Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin, as it grows and becomes more and more important and more value goes into it, can stop wars, can literally stop wars. Because, we can take control away from the government. We can take control away from the politicians, etc. At a certain point, and it's beyond, even beyond democracy, because it's not even democratic in the sense of a normal war where, the average Joe that never does anything go and vote and is counted like anybody else. It's a different kind of democracy where you vote by doing, that is even just buying stuff, like buying Bitcoin, being early investor, different from everybody else. So it's a type of democracy that gives a weight to everybody. It's a weighted democracy in a certain sense. It's a weight proportional to how much involvement you have in this thing, how much, and it could be involvement in the sense that you bought Bitcoin early on, because even you guys that maybe some of the guys that are buying today, and it's 15 years after Bitcoin was invented, versus somebody that did it in the beginning. There were people that buying Bitcoin in the beginning, selling it for a pizza, Yeah, okay, they got involved early, but then they didn't see the value. Okay, it was useful because they showed that you could do transactions, with Bitcoin, but then they didn't see it as, this incredible value that eventually Bitcoin will have, So,
but don't you think that now with the adoption of the ETF, there is a shift in let's say in the behavior? I mean, I don't like to call it smart money because I don't like that word. But now, as we can see, basically governments has approved and have gave their blessing to Bitcoin, right? So what I see in the future, it's the following. I believe that we will face less and less volatility I don't know if you will agree with me, because we will have more and more inflows in those ETFs from baby boomers and from all that money.
Continue to talk. I'm going.
This,
continue
yes,
your thoughts. I'm going to get me some water and coming back. Okay, but I'm still listening to you. It's just that my microphone cannot catch you.
And with those funds, coming into the play now, of course, we will have more and more and more allocation of the cake to those funds, which I don't know if you see in the future, like one of the ETFs can be like, or can have more than 50% of the total Bitcoin value. Do you think that this is a possibility as well? Which then the fund that have more than 50% of all the Bitcoin on the planet will dictate the price.
Okay, so this is my fault. Yeah, there is no way that happens, but let me say something in general about these ETFs and all these other events, right? The theory has a very precise answer, because every theory needs to basically answer everything. This is how theory works, right? Like if you have theory of evolution, you take me any example, any crazy example, say, what about these birds in these particular islands and so on? And then if a theory is correct, that is a weird case, maybe cannot explain it for some time because maybe you are missing some piece or something, but in theory should, in theory, so the theory needs to explain that thing too, okay? And so the theory has an explanation. Now, do you like this explanation? Do you don't like it? Do you think it makes sense? It's up to you, right? If it's useful, take it. At least give it some thought, right? But the theory will answer in this way, because it needs to be consistent, right? So this is how you start to think when you have. This is the beauty of having a theory versus just a model, right? It gives you an answer to almost. It tries to give you an answer to almost everything. The idea will be that because of this scaling variant process, right, that I'm trying to explain, we will have a video about that too soon. Every single little thing that happened in the history of Bitcoin, it's part of this feedback loop. So basically, in the beginning, when Satoshi had only a few friends, was in this very small circle of these cypherpunks, these were very very small corner of the internet that almost nobody knew about. He had only a few people joining in, because they saw. And if you ever have a chance, go and read this first early talk, discussion that Satoshi had with his friends in this little group on the internet. Okay, it's really interesting. I will try to put the link in the resources so you can read it. And then, these people started to, some of them, like Al Finney, for example, he like the idea. He said, okay, I'm going to run the code in my computer. So he uses resources, he uses time. They started to debug it. More people came in. They started to create this Bitcoin talk. There was a forum. More people came in that were not in that circle. They heard about this thing. The media started to get involved. They had their first media interview, blah, blah, blah. Little events like that. I was there since 2012, basically, when I thought that if you look at my X, I have this pin post, one of the first, in fact, I actually downloaded the wallet stupidly in 2010, and then I didn't do anything with it. But my first real serious involvement was in 2012. And there were in all these years, I can tell you, single events that were kind of like ETFs, but proportional. So that is the entire idea of scaling variance. They are proportional to the scale. When, I don't know if you saw this graph where I have a mouse, I have a rat, I have a cat, I have a cow, and then I show where we were when basically you have equivalent to these animals, right? You scale to bigger and bigger animals, and you have an equivalent price. So, what is scary to a cat, is not scary to a dog, because the dog is much bigger. What is big for a cat and relevant is nothing for an elephant. So it depends on where you are in this scaling process. The things that are happening to you are proportional. And Bitcoin is a loop in the sense that as the price became bigger, it started to attract more interest, started to bring more resources. Banks shunned Bitcoin, but then some banks got involved, not necessarily just ETF. There were banks that got involved with Bitcoin early on, but they were maybe small or nothing like BlackRock and whatever. We are at a point of the history of Bitcoin where the proportional important events are at the level of ETFs. This is why they happen. It's not a breakthrough. It's not a dramatic change, a phase shift, like we use this word in physics, when you go from ice to water or water from ice. It's such a big shift that everything changes, right? How the water behaves when it's ice versus when it's water, it's so dramatic. We call it a phase shift. These ETFs are not, for many different reasons. One of them, because I said this before, and I knew that it was right from an intuitive point of view, and then I looked at the numbers. I calculated that if we are on the Bitcoin, because that is the beauty of having this projection in the future, because we can make statements like this. We can say, okay, given that we are trying to, the model says we're going to reach, $1 million Bitcoin in 10 years, what do we need in terms of inflow of capital in the system? Because you can convert that price into market cap, and then people say, well, it's not that $1 inflow affects the market cap by $1. It's more than that, because there are all these lost coins, etc. Okay, I consider that. I use a factor of 10 that is really big. So basically, every dollar that comes in affects the market cap by a factor of 10, right? Like if it was $10. It's a big number. Even if you consider that, basically we need $650 million every single day to bring us to 1 million. So from now on to 10 years from now, we need $650 million per day coming in the system. This with the 10 per factor that I already used. That is actually more than what the ETFs bring in. And that is okay, because there are other things that are also influencing the price, right? There are retailers and so on. So ETFs are nothing different. And also, I'm not sure that it will be an accumulation of one single ETF that does 50% of the entire, because if that happens, I think, the nature of this type of investment, where they still want to be balanced, they still want to be, they are never going to be like the majority. Bitcoin is never going to be the majority of these portfolios. It's going to be a percentage, So they are not going to accumulate one single entity, hold that power. Now, it's something to watch out. Nothing is impossible. I can think about that, but I don't have anything to prove it right now that is absolutely not the case. But my intuition tells me not, but it's something that in theory we could look at it up and see, is there any mathematical argument that we could give to say that it would never happen? Because it will not be good for sure. It will not be good to have so much accumulation in one single hand. Also, though, remember what these things represent, right? They are not really like a single entity, because really, even if BlackRock buys stuff, it does it in the
No, it's for the public. It's we own the Bitcoin that it's.
There are
right.
Investors, right, that buy in this particular instrument, but they are like small little funds that buy for their clients. In the end, it's people. So it's just another form of adoption. Right?
I definitely think they are more friendly or meant for the people that don't like to learn technology. that don't want to learn to hold it themselves, that don't trust themselves with their keys, or don't even want to understand wallets. I think it's definitely meant for an older generation to be able to still invest in. But so if you think about it, like the younger kids, the newer generation, they all are more tech savvy than their generation before them, and it will continue on like that. And I think the newer generations will be more likely to hold it themselves than buy an ETF. So I think the more the time goes on, the less the ETF will have inflows, truthfully.
Yeah. Yeah. On my case, I'm on the opposite side. You know, I bought since the ETF came up, just because, you know, I don't want that my dog eat the keys with almost now 15% of my total value in Bitcoin. But more that, you know, for me, the ETFs was the blessing of the US government. So I always had that
I
fear
agree.
that, you know, from one day, that's why I never invested in Bitcoin at the beginning.
I would not
was
put it in that way, because the U.S. government is for sure not a friend of Bitcoin. I think it's more they were forced in a certain sense, because
yeah, they were forced to adopt
because
it. That's for sure.
the U.S. government is not the puppeteer. The puppeteer is BlackRock and people like them.
In the end, it was definitely a win for Bitcoin, for the U.S. government. Even if they're not saying we approve this, they had to back down and say that we're not banning it from people owning it.
I think it was more if they realized that they couldn't fight it, and who'd realize?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not, I hate conspiracy theories, because most of them are based on non-critical thinking, but some conspiracy theories are so obvious that are not even conspiracy theories. It's just obvious, right? It's there in our face. Like, they put sugar everywhere, they put corn syrup everywhere, but it's not as conspiracy. They do it. Why they do it?
It's a fact.
Greed and bullshit, and people that don't care about us, and politicians being corrupted. So it's a fact that the banks own the government. It's not the other way around. It's not that the government say, "Oh, we approve this, we let you do it." It was all a game. Even when stupid SEC thing, they can buy SEC any time of the day. By the time you're as big as BlackRock, you tell the government what to do, not the other way around. It's all a cover up to show, oh, look, we're looking after the investors' interest. It's bullshit. They are looking after the big, huge organizations, institutional funds, the banks, basically. They realize, they try to fight it for 15 years. They try to, because the same BlackRock guy that now is praising Bitcoin, he was putting down Bitcoin a few years ago, not even many years ago. And so they just realized they cannot fight it. They hoped that it was going down in ashes. They couldn't do it. So they joined. They say, okay, maybe we control it a little bit. Maybe we can benefit from it. So this is all what happened. It was not about approving it or saying, okay, this is a good thing. They ate it. They ate it with their soul, and they just said, okay, like they typical predators that they are. They said, okay, let's join the party, because otherwise we get completely cut out. Now, in the end, it's still a good thing, because there are a lot of, even my friends that are engineers, etc. I go play Warhammer with them on the weekend, and I try to talk to them about Bitcoin and try to do it in a kind way, in a pushy way, because otherwise, they think that they're trying to peddle something. And also it's a turn off for them. But the few times I did it, I saw it. They were not ready. They didn't want to listen. They are not open, and they will get exposed to Bitcoin, because their pension fund decides that they want 1% exposure to Bitcoin. So it's still going to be an indirect form of adoption, and it's going to help the T cube. And is not going to change. It's continue to stay at T cube, but now the only problem that now, I want to see this thing of looking at the addresses, how the addresses are still going to be a good proxy for adoption if there are more and more people that are adopting quote unquote Bitcoin indirectly like that. I still think they're going to be a good proxy because it's almost like when you take a sample of a population, now to test the entire population, to know what the population is doing. If your sample is big enough, it's still going to be a good representation of what happens in general. So, there will be still people adopting Bitcoin directly, and I think this is going to be proportional also to the ETF because, like you said, some people are getting in Bitcoin directly and buying Bitcoin directly because they heard that these big ETFs are coming in. There is also that effect. So I think addresses are still going to be a good proxy. We are going to see, and they are still going to be that power law. But I think that once a system settles on something like this over many order of magnitude, and for many years, it's something intrinsic to the system, and it's very difficult to change it and shake it and make it do it something different. That is the entire idea of this scaling variant. Is why it's called invariant. It doesn't change. It shows that there is something going on that is ruling the system that works at any level. It works at any scale. It doesn't matter if a system is a little mouse, it's an elephant, it will continue to do the same thing. Now, unless something crazy happens that is so dramatic that can shake the system, maybe the system runs out into some kind of physical limitation, like you cannot grow a tooth forever. There are some animals that do that because they erode the tooth against the ground, etc. They need to replace it with new material. But there are other things like growth of an animal itself. It doesn't grow forever. It stops at a certain point, right? And so it will happen with Bitcoin too. But we are so far away from that regime that for sure going to 1 million, there is nothing to stop us for doing that. And that is really what we want to do here. We want to project up to reasonable amounts and say, hey, there is really no reason to think that it's not going to do this up to this point. We are talking about 10 years ahead of us. We're talking about Bitcoin being 1 million. We're going to talking about having at least 3 cycles that we can use to multiply our Bitcoin. So we should be focused on that right now. When we reach 1 million, like I said, let's have a big party, and then let's plan for the next 10 years, Let's do this. But for now, I think we are on a very, very solid ground in terms of where we are and where we are going. I think this is the best approach. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I think it's the more, thoughtful way of approaching this entire issue. What you agree,
No,
guys?
absolutely. I 100% agree with you. 100%. I hope that we will reach the million before the 10 years. Let's say in about 7 and 8. Depend on the inflow, but
I think the
definitely,
part, when I say 1 million, that is really the average, right? So it's going to be the average price for Bitcoin. Of course, through these bubbles, probably, the last one before the 1 million, we're going to reach 1 million. But I'm talking about, the average.
the average.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
average.
we will reach it and then crash, maybe by a factor of 2. So let's say we go even 1.5 million of the last bubble, before the average, and then we crash, to 750,000, something like that. And then that will be our bottom. And then from that, we go back to the average price of 1 million, and then there will be another cycle and everything starts again. But, it's a long path ahead of us.
So you still believe that we will face that volatility along the years?
Okay, and the point
You
about
don't think
that
that it will? You don't think that it will flatten the volatility more and more along the way?
So
The
Then
volatility will
now,
flatten.
everything we say is always based on the data, because this is the approach we have in this Discord, in this
Correct.
entire group. The only data we have about the size of these bubbles are the bubbles themselves, because differently from the trend where we have 5,000 points or more in a few days, the bubbles are the only three bubbles that we have. So anything we say about the bubbles has to be taken with a grain
It's
of
about the
salt,
past. Yeah.
because it's all, everything is about the past. But one thing is the general trend where you have 5,000 points and your stats are going to be so much better. And another thing is, well, we have only three bubbles. If we had 15 bubbles, then we will be much more confident. But we have only three, because we had an early one, but it should not count because it was not before the halving, and in fact it behaves in a very weird way. So I never included in my stats. We have only three bubbles. When you do start with 3 data points, people will laugh at you because it means nothing.
Correct. It's not really.
But it's all what we have, so we can use it to say something. And if you look at it, you look at the change between the bottom and the top of each cycle, and you put it in a graph, it looks really a nice exponential. Very, very precise exponential, like a decaying exponential. So it goes down fast. But if you calculate what is called the P, that basically the Pearson coefficient, it tells you how likely this thing is due to chance. The number is close to something like maybe 12%, 15%. It's small, but at the same time, it's not statistically significant, because to be statistically significant it needs to be less than 5%. That is how we do it in science. And it's an arbitrary thing, but it tells you in 5% usually, this is like a social science papers. In physics, we will laugh at 5% chance to be due to random. We want something like, one part in 10,000, one part in a million. This is how we do physics. But, these are what we have. It's basically what we will call a trend. It's not statistically significant. It's some kind of a hint that there is something going on there. Now, will it continue to do that? We don't know. That is the only honest answer. We don't know, because we have only 3 data points. So what you can do, you can say, if this thing continues to do what it did in the past, then it's a clear indication that this volatility is becoming smaller and smaller, and in fact, the general trend is approaching basically the power law. This is all what we get, but with small little bumps. But in my model, if you look at my models, you still get some fluctuations by bubble, by the next couple of bubbles. It's not going to be completely flat. So we are not going to get, imagine, the first bubble, we went up almost like 15 times, from the bottom. It was crazy. The next bubbles were more like 2 times the average trend. Maybe by the time we have the next couple of bubbles, maybe we are going up, maybe 20%, 30%, 40%, So they are going to become smaller. But in my calculation, when I did the 300 times, I considered that. So actually that is relatively, it's a relative honest calculation that is based on considering that we are going to have smaller bubble. And still I get 300 times, even with these smaller bubbles. Because, by the time you buy the bottom, you sell at the top, and you do it a few times, you really multiply your gains by a lot. And that 300 comes from that, by precisely timing everything. But, it needs to be taken with a grain of salt, because it's an extreme case, right? Nobody's going to do that perfectly. So, look, can we make 50 per times between year to 10 years? I will not do the Discord group if I didn't think so. Because it just by sitting on your hand, by holding, you get 20 pair. This is how much you get. People think it's bearish, but it's telling you that in 10 years from now, you will have 20 pair, basically. And can we beat that by a factor of 2 or 3? I think so. So this is what this Discord group is all about. That
Yeah,
we don't
I
want
think
20,
so. But when you
160.
when you see, for example, the bubble of 2017, up to the bubble of 2021. So in the middle, in 2020, we went down. Okay, what COVID case, but it went down almost to 100%. So we passed through. It was like what 19K to 3K. So yes, it's a factor 5 here. So absolutely. You know, I believe as well that 50 times, I think in 10 years. I will also say that
It's
it's
reasonable,
bearish.
right? It's not.
Yeah, I will not say that
And
it's good. I will say that it's bearish.
I
Absolutely.
will not use that word because it's a negative word, and I will say conservative. Let's say conservative.
Conservative. Yeah, exactly. Conservative.
It's a better word because it tells us, that it's based on. It doesn't give like a dismissive meaning to it. It's more about let's stick with what we can count on. Almost, because nothing is guaranteed in investments, right? If an investment is 100%, it's not an investment because there is always a risk involved, and there is always some kind of inverse relationship between risk and reward,
And rewards.
But with Bitcoin, it's pretty good relationship in the sense that I will say, and I'm saying that without any doubt in my mind, Bitcoin is the safest investment possible. Better than real estate, better than gold, better than bonds, better than anything. It's the safest investment. There is no doubt, absolutely no doubt. And at the same time, it has these incredible upsides. It's absurd. It's just absurd. I don't even understand why there is not a single person in the world that doesn't want some Bitcoin. It's like, what are you talking about? Even $20 buy Bitcoin. You're throwing money buying coffee. Since now I go to the grocery store, I see something nice that I want to get. Say, do you really need it? You don't need it. You have all your vitamins, all your proteins. That thing, it's not good. It's not good. Buy some Bitcoin. And I reward myself with that. I buy $5, whatever that thing is, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin with it, and that is more rewarding for me than anything else, Just be healthy and do everything necessary, but, membership to the gym, unless you have weights at home, enough food to support and sustain yourself, good vitamins, food, simple food, maybe a little bit of entertainment. This is all what you need. Put everything else in Bitcoin, So, guys, let's switch a little bit pace here because your questions are wonderful and it's okay. This is what we have more the Tuesday meeting, more about discussions like this that are kind of discussing aspects of the theory and different ideas that we discuss here. This meeting is more about talking about the chart, and I made a little bit of a mistake staying too long on this. It's okay, it's great because it's a wonderful conversation, but we lost at least one person that hopefully shows up again. And the entire idea is to show you the charts and making sure that you know how to use them and so on. So let's jump on them. You can see if you click the little bubble near the speaker, this is where you see, click the bubble, then you should be able to see the chart. And let me know if you don't, because I will start when. So if you don't,
yes, I can see your chart.
Okay.
I have it pulled up.
Yeah. No, I don't need to have everybody saying. Just if you don't see it, then let me know because maybe we give you better explanation, and we are waiting for everybody to see the chart. And you can click on it, and then it will become bigger. If you click on it, and you can see it better. All right, so I'm assuming that everybody see it because I don't see anybody saying no, I don't see it. So I'm going to start with the chart, right? So first of all, it's really so if you never use TradingView, get TradingView. Eventually, we will have a video on how to use TradingView in general. How to interact with it, how to set it up. We have a video about the indicators, how to set up the indicators, but we don't have a general TradingView video. But I'm pretty sure if you go online and you do TradingView tutorials, it's full of tutorials. So use the internet, right? You know how to do that. And it will explain you different things, right? How you can find here, you can find the different things you want to visualize. In our case, we are focused on Bitcoin, but in theory, you could look at gold. This is the beauty of having TradingView. You can look at gold. You can look how bad everything else is in comparison with Bitcoin. And maybe one day I will make even an indicator where you actually can plot in the same chart. I have one with all the shit coins. Where is that one? I can show you another time. But I sometimes post where I show all the different coins. You can add, if you click here, it will add on this symbol, it will compare. And you can put gold, you can put everything you like and compare it. Of course, if you have different prices, it will start to show percentage-wise instead of the value of dollars or whatever. But you can play around, you can see. Now, this chart is not going to work for anything else than the dollar. And in fact, we also, if you click here, it shows all the different type of charts that you can have, because it's not just one type. You can look at different companies that offer Bitcoin and basically different exchanges, right? And so the price will be slightly different from different exchanges. The one that we use is this all-time history that is, I think, is some kind of an average of many different exchanges, but also the beauty of it is going all the way to the Bitcoin, to the beginning of the Bitcoin history. And so you can actually scroll down. It cannot show things before exchanges open, so it goes to 2010 when the first exchanges, Mt. Gox, opened. So this is the one. While in theory you could use anything else, the advised one, the suggested one is this one, all-time history, because it's explaining the video, but make sure, please, to use this. And there is nothing wrong in playing with the other one. If you're curious, nothing breaks, the computer doesn't explode, so you can always change. But if you want an accurate chart, this one is the one that you want to use. So you select that one, and then also, it's nice to see it in color, in black and white, in this dark mode. And there are instructions on how to do that in the video. Let me know if you get stuck. I also have if you go under resources, library channel is also a good place because I put a lot of stuff there too. But basically, this is what you see, this main blue line, right? And there is some explanation needed about that blue line because, when people come in, they see there is a difference between this blue line and the other type of chart that I post on my X. So, there are other places where people see this chart, or, they say, okay, there is a difference. What is the difference? The difference is, we call these the adaptive power law. What this power law does is taking new data and it gives a little bit more weight to the new data. And in doing that, is basically trying to respond to two things at the same time. One is still follow this general power law trend, at the same time being a little bit more adaptive, to the new data. So it's trying to fit the data that comes in recently. And what that allows us to do is basically to create almost like support and resistance areas. Like, for example, notice here, right, when we reach the bottom, notice how nicely we follow the bottom. And it's not just a coincidence, because it goes a little bit above it. We see here, this purple line was indicating this area here, this here area here. Almost everywhere you can see a lot of different places where it's almost like Bitcoin follows these lines and then leaves one line to go to the next one, and sometimes it does it in the other direction where it leaves this line, it stays there, it was a dip, and then it goes back to that line, and then it goes back to this line. Look at this. Look at this. You can almost look it with your eyes, say, whoa, it's basically, it does only two things. It stays on this line, leaves the line, and then tries to stay on the next, and most of the time it spends actually on the lines. So they basically are like resistance and support, but instead of some dude drawing it by hand and say, okay, yeah, this looks like a support line, and it connects two dots, we actually find real support and resistance levels based on science, because this is all what we do. We do science. Here, it works. And see, for example, right now, it seems that this green line is some kind of, resistance, support, it's oscillating around there. It's almost like uncanny. And this blue line, it is the general trend, but in this adaptive sense, it's the resistance. It seems that it doesn't want to break yet that blue line, because actually, if you look at where we are in the cycle relatively to this place, we are early on. We are very, very early on. We should be, relatively to the other side, we should be closer to the purple line. And instead we are all over there. And I think this is mostly because of the ETF. And again, not because the ETF fundamentally change anything, it's the excitement. It's, again, one of these things where people misunderstanding, they get excited, and they push the price where it should not be, and there is not really any fundamental reason why it should be there, but it is there, And it will correct, eventually it will correct. It will still do the usual thing. It's just that it's a deviation, an unusual deviation from where Bitcoin should be at this time of the cycle. So that is my interpretation. Now, maybe you have another interpretation. We're all looking at this thing, trying to learn, understanding. Nobody is absolutely 100% right, and for sure you should not ever take everything I say as a religion, because this is not a cult. We are all scientists trying to figure out this thing. I have a little bit more experience, than most people, and so maybe, you want to consider the things I'm saying, but just think about it and use your own understanding. But this is what, to be consistent with the theory, this is what the theory says. That, right now, basically, this also answer, and unfortunately gold is not here, but we will make this available as a recording, so maybe you can hear. I'm trying to answer this question. What is this white line? Okay, before I go there, though, let me continue a little bit in the general description of this indicator. So we have these color lines, right? So these color lines, and of course, eventually we put more information. That is one of the things I need to work as soon as possible. I need to explain exactly this line, what this line are in terms of values, but they are proportional to the standard deviation. So standard deviation basically is this tool that we use to identify how spread the data is around an average. So you can think about the blue line like an average. It's not an average in the common sense, because we are not averaging anything. We are projecting this prediction, this model, this mathematical formula to the future. It's all predictive. We know that we think this is what truly Bitcoin is this power law, and so we are projecting in the future. We just give a little bit of more weight to the points when we do this projection to the recent point, so we kind of follow the trend a little bit, but it's not an average, okay? It's not a moving average. But you can think it almost like if it was, and then like if it was an average, when you do an average, you associate also the distance from the average, because basically you want to see the spread of everything, right? When you calculate what's called a distribution, when you look at some data that changes, and it's distributed around an average, you always want to know how spread the data is relatively to that average, right? Because if everybody, imagine height, everybody was all concentrated, you have a very uniform population where everybody was within very similar heights, you will have all these data points very, very close to the average, right? So it will look like a very, very tall bell curve. If you have an average, but then imagine everybody could be absolutely randomly, like uniformly, like when you roll a dice, right? You can take the average value, but it's not very meaningful, because basically any value of the dice, the face of the dice, is likely, right? Every face has 1/6 probability. So when you roll it, everybody has the same probability to show up. Every face has the same, unless the dice is strict, right? You have the same probability. And in that case, the distribution, right? If you did a graph, you can calculate the average, whatever it is, right? You sum all these numbers. I think it's like what 3.5, something like that. It's not 3, but close to 3.5, I think. I need to do the calculation in my head, but or whatever that number is. But then, if you do this distribution, it will be a flat thing, because every phase has the same likely result, and that will tell you basically that number is kind of meaningless unless, okay, you do it many, 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 many times, and then basically, that number is kind of tells you a likely is that you will get that number close to 3, but it's really not meaningful. But with other distribution, it's meaningful, because if you have so basically it's telling you that if you have too much of a spread, then your average is not that good. It doesn't represent too much your data. You want a relatively narrow distribution. So you can calculate basically what is called the standard deviation, that is the average distance of each point from that average. So again, this is not an average, but you can still calculate, like if it was an average, what is the distance of every single point from that trend, the average distance. And then you can say, okay, let me go, 20% from that average distance. Let me go 30% from that average distance, 40% from that average distance, and so on, all the way maybe to 2 times the average distance of the points. And so this is what we show in these lines. This is what this line represents. And we do it above and below the general trend. And so it's very useful, because you can see historically we didn't go beyond this value here, purple, whatever that is. Maybe that is 1 standard deviation, right? All the way to 1 standard deviation. And so these other ones are a fraction of that standard deviation, these lines here. And so notice how even during COVID, for example, somebody was mentioning COVID. COVID is this peak here, this drop here. So again, here, technically, when we are not in these bubbles, we are supposed to be along the white line, because the white line there of this full model, what we call the full model. So let me explain now what this white line is. The white line is what we call the full model. The full model is trying to improve on the simple model. The simple model is the blue line, by doing 3 things. One is continuing the general trend. So it's a formula that has 3 components. One is the general power law trend. Then we tell this algorithm or this formula, we say, cut in by a certain percentage, go all the way 1 standard deviation from this general trend when we are not in the bounds. And the idea is to catch basically this bottom. because most of the time, if even when we are not exactly on the white line, it still represents some kind of a barrier that the price doesn't seem to go through, even during COVID. Notice how incredible crazy it was here, right? He was doing something different, maybe because, again, some FOMO, I don't know. It will be interesting as we study more and more people start to learn about the theory, trying to make sense of the theory. Maybe there will be somebody that goes every single little place and plays some event that was happening at the time. I want to do that too at a certain point, like maybe even a video or something, like maybe telling the history of Bitcoin through events and make a video out of that and then point to where we were in the chart and how the chart responded. So maybe there was something bullish that happened that made the price going away from this bottom line, right? But then notice what happened. The moment there was something relatively bearish, not relatively, but very bearish, like the COVID, the price dropped. But look at how Bitcoin was different from everything else, because oil went to negative value. People were asking you to take home oil, and we will pay you for that. Get some oil, and we will give you a bonus, or whatever. And this was crazy, right? So it went actually to the people paying you to buy oil, while Bitcoin, reacted, but it went basically to where it should have been anyway. It's crazy. It's completely crazy, right? This is how fantastic and different Bitcoin is from anything else. And so it bounced there, and it returned to the general trend. In fact, actually, because of the halving was very close, it started to leave the trend, and it went to become bullish, more and more bullish over time during that cycle. And if you go to the previous one, notice again how crazy the white line had all these bottom. In this case, it was very, very close to that white line. Again, notice sometimes we go below, but then recover, etc. So, the white line is trying to represent this general trend of the price when, so this is based on the full model, when we are at these bottoms, right? We spend about 2 years. So this flat part of the curve, of the white curve, is about 2 years. And then 1 year going up and 1 year going down. And so the other component, I told you there are 3 components. So there is a general component for the white line. It is a general trend. Then there is this bottom that I told you how it's calculated by knowing that these bottoms are about 1 standard deviation. So we force the line to not to be along the purple line, but to be 50% below, right? 1 standard deviation below. And then we add this sinusoidal trend, right? Basically like a deformed sine wave that has only a positive component, right? Because usually sine waves have negative and positive component. This one is just positive, so it's like basically a bump. But because it's a sine wave, or a deformed sine wave, whatever you want to call it, it's periodic. So what I did was every 4 years do these bubbles, right? And it's exact 4 years. So it's not trying to adapt to the data, try to follow the peaks. It's just saying, if we keep this very precise regularity of 4 years, is this where you will expect the peak to be. And now, because I'm always transparent on how I make this model, I will never sell you bullshit, say, hey, I did it with this very sophisticated understanding. It's nothing sophisticated. It's just synchronizing the first bubble. Just say, synchronize it, make sure of it. And you see how I don't model this first bubble, because this bubble was before the first halving. So this was the first halving in 2013, the end of 2012, really. And so I only model the bubbles are associated in a very clear way. There is no doubt that are associated somehow. They are not, and nothing to do with scarcity, nothing to do with supply going up, and because I explained why before, but they are evidently associated with this kind of Christmas, a Bitcoin Christmas. So they happen a little bit later than the halvings, but they are really associated with that. And so I didn't model these at all, okay? We don't know what was due, maybe some manipulation in the Mt. Gox exchange or maybe something else, but it's anomalous. So maybe one day we will be able to include it, but it doesn't help us to make future prediction anyway, because it's different from the other ones. There are no 4 years, it's not 4 years later. There is nothing that helps us by including this bubble in the model. But the way we get all the other bubbles is by enforcing this 4 years periodicity and synchronizing this first bubble. We say has to be there in the middle. They usually happen. And it's a little arbitrary. I can have shifted a little bit earlier, a little bit later. I made it happen basically. They seem to happen kind of at the end of the year. So it's a nice place where to place them, right? And so you see here how we add this first bubble here. Maybe it was like kind of a little second top there. That is pretty good, right, for our purpose, for what we can do. And all the other bubbles, they just simply come from keeping this 4-year periodicity, right? It's magical, and at the same time, I'm not going to bullshit you by saying I did anything else more special than this. So, because we don't like bullshit in this place. And so here too, right? So you see, again, I could have shifted this a little bit earlier. Maybe I could have caught better this bubble here, but we just want to be consistent, and we just say, okay, what about the end of that here, right? This is where we place them, if there is any reason to shift them and making the model, I can do some studies. See, maybe it's more like November when they seem to happen. We can do that if it's needed. Modify them a little bit. But right now, this is how they are set up. And you see it, right? Again, here we cut at the bottom. And the entire idea of what we're doing here is that we are not trusting only one signal. We want to use as many signals as possible. Now, up to a point, because if you have a chart that has 20 different signals, then it's more noise. You're adding noise. You're not adding signal. Too many signals actually became noise at a certain point. So you want to find a compromise. Maybe maybe 2-3 different converging things that are describing the same thing but slightly different angles is the way to go. And this is what we are trying to do with these charts. We're trying to add few signals that together should tell us, okay, we are very close to the bottom, we are very close to the top. And it's never about getting them exactly. It seems that the bottom are a little bit more precise than the top. But it's all about regions, right? So think about you're trying to do DCA. That is one of the things that we are trying to do too. We are trying to Saving Face is an amazing job. He has already have some working code that is trading view indicator that you guys can use that is helping people to do DCA. We are developing our own signal too. We are making a channel on the server where you will find suggestions. Basically it's kind of like a weight. The idea will be when you are close to the bottom here, the weight will be actually bigger than 100 because maybe it's basically like saying take everything you have and buy Bitcoin right now, or in the next couple of weeks, because usually these periods where we are at the bottom, not the general bottom, but when we finally reach the bottom, that is the lowest bottom, sell your shares. So many shares do you have? Don't sell your mom, because in Italy we never sell our mom. But do you have 2 shares? Okay, you have one too many shares. buy Bitcoin, so that will be the idea. This, we want to give a huge, big weight. But when you say, well, then why don't I only buy here? Because some people maybe, get paid every 2 weeks and we want to save a little bit of money. And you never know, because, while we trust all this, you never know if Bitcoin maybe never comes back to the bottom. It could be. There is a small chance that it doesn't do that. And so you still want to do some DCA, but, you want to find a compromise between, doing it in a regular fashion and at the same time using this knowledge, because that is the entire point while you're coming here and spending all this money for these indicators, $5 a month, $10 a month. So you want to use, that knowledge for your advantage. And so the idea will be to use weights, right? So you start to buy less, and the idea will be still save, right? Don't save less, save the same amount. So you save a good strategy, particularly, for a young person that has a job, that put like, a small percentage. Don't buy that latte that is so stupidly expensive. Make some coffee at home, bring it from home, to work from home, and buy instead Bitcoin. Buy a little bit of Bitcoin every 2 weeks when you get paid or whatever. And if the weight says 48%, put the 52% aside in a bank account or some other safe place, and wait until we are in a better place. Because when we're in a better place, when we go back, to regions where the price is better, you can buy them. So put this money aside and do that. And we are trying to figure out what that means. What are the best weights, given the general trend, and so we're still working on that. But for example, saving face has a very good approach that seems to work much better than just. Is it true, right? Did you compare it with normal DCA and saving face? Did you compare what you're doing right now with normal DCA? Does it do better?
Can we say that those horizontal movements that we see in bottom 2023 and September 2023 are accumulation points?
It depends what you mean by accumulation points.
I mean, people that are trying to accumulate as much as possible.
Well,
because
yes, probably they are doing that, but the way to think about that is, I think, has to do with miners mostly, because the reason why it's there is because if we went below that, then it would be unprofitable for miners. And now,
okay.
Yeah, but for sure people are aware of this. Maybe they don't know about the power law, maybe don't have this chart, but a lot of the things that we are discovering is not that we were never discovered before. They were there, but they were not part of this very consistent, uniform picture that we have, right? Some people did certain things even without knowing. Like, okay, here it seems to be a place where I'm accumulating my Bitcoin, maybe these big whales, because actually we have graphs showing that this is what the big whales do. They sell at the top and then we buy at the bottom. And maybe because of their activity, also these bottoms are formed, but there are also the miners, etc. See, yes, so accumulation, a point, if that is a terminology that helps you to understand what is going on, sure.
Yeah.
And in fact, this is also what we want to do ourselves. We want to accumulate along these lines, and at the same time, we want to do it in an intelligent way, where basically we want to wait when we are in a better position. The only problem is, one thing is doing it above the lines, and this is why it still needs some fine tuning. One thing is using weights above the line, or in fact even selling some of your Bitcoin above the blue line. And the other thing, doing it here, because even if we are coming back eventually, we are still getting this power law trend. So it needs to be adjusted for that. So this is why I'm not yet ready to push, to give you the official version of this, because I want to make sure that if you are here and then we continue to go up with the power law, by the time we go back, you're actually not having a bigger price that you will have if you bought it here. So I want to account for that. And it should not be too difficult, because we can always project. We can say, basically, it's all about this 4-year cycle, right? So it's where we are in the cycle, and kind of see something similar in the future. Say, okay, what if I was, so basically, I would say 4 years in advance, right? So I am 4 years in advance. Where will I be if I was 4 years in advance? Will I be in a better place or no, right? In general. And so maybe we can account for that. But again, if you can buy right now, you don't want to buy 4 years in the future because it's still unknown, right? So it kind of makes sense to give weight as we go up, right? But we will make it more refined. We want to improve this model. And I don't know if Savingface maybe left, but he had something where I think he was already comparing, and I also did compare. It really helps if you can buy here a lot. If you stay very close to here and you put almost all your weight here, and you don't almost have to do anything while we are there, it's really, you're going to beat the market for sure by doing normal DCA. And then, the idea will be, as you go above the blue line, you have different options. You can continue to buy again a little bit if you're close to the blue line. But as we leave the blue line, you want to start to probably get rid. And now, is it the yellow line? Is it orange? Is it red? Again, this is one of the things that we have not completely refined, and it's kind of up to you a little bit at this point. Hopefully, by the time we are there, we should have all figured out, and so we can help you. But that is the idea, that and it depends also on your style, right? There are some people that will never sell their Bitcoin. They don't sell it until maybe it's $10 million, whatever. And more power to you, okay? But, there are some people that say, maybe I can sell 10%, 20%, whatever you decide. Should you sell everything? Maybe there are some people that have so small Bitcoin that is the only chance for them to really try to multiply Bitcoin. They take a big risk, but, do I tell you to do it or not do it? It's up to you. I don't want to influence anybody in terms of what you think is best. Probably anything reasonable is the best approach always in life, So I would not go maybe more than 50% if you really want to push it. Now 60% because you want to take a little bit more risk, fine. 100. I will not tell you no. At the same time, I don't think it's the right approach, but it's up to you, whatever you want to do. In theory, you could also short, right? And I don't know if everybody knows about shorting. One day maybe we can talk about it if you don't know. But in particular, if you are outside the United States, because unfortunately the United States has all these stupid restrictions, like if you were little children, And one of the things you cannot do it, and I don't know with the ETF, if you can short the ETF. Maybe you can short the ETF. We can look it up. But with normal Bitcoin, in the United States, you cannot. But in other countries, you can. So again, don't ever use this against me and say, oh, you told us to do degen things like shorting Bitcoin. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you that it's one of the options. And you could consider a small part of your portfolio, like, small percentage, 5%, whatever, and make some big money while Bitcoin is going down. If we knew that this was exactly what Bitcoin did, if we knew 100%, actually that would be the only reasonable thing to do. But because we don't know, and it could be always a risk that, maybe these cycles are not being respected. We cannot be 100% sure. Doesn't matter, even if these were planets. Okay, nothing in life is 100% sure. But if this cycle continues, and we have all this theory that says they should continue, they should exist, maybe they became smaller, but they should be there, then we know how long they last, we know how to identify them. So now never believe these stupid people that tells you, oh yeah, okay, they found the general trend of a power law, but it's not useful at all. Look at how much alpha we have here. They don't know what they are talking about, because it's all about timing. It's not that the price can be randomly at any place, at any moment. That is so stupid, whoever says that. There are very precise patterns that we can identify using the power law, and deviations from it is the best tool ever. But I'm sorry, not because I made it, but I would not use it if I didn't think that this is the most amazing tool to understand Bitcoin. Is there more things to discover? Sure, and we will push it to understand them. But right now, it's really the best model that we have, the best approach. So we can tell where we are, and if we know that we are in a place where probably Bitcoin is continue to go down, you can take a little risk and short it, right? So short is basically when you're actually betting against Bitcoin. But I know it doesn't sound good, but there are times where you're basically betting Bitcoin going back home. Say, I think that Bitcoin is going back home. It's going, it went to Cancun, it had fun, and it's going back to that trend, to this general power law trend. And, I mean, in this case, I mean the bottom, right? Because this way is going. And then, you stop doing that when we reach that region. And this is how you get this 320% that I told you by playing all these games. Now, we have also a channel that I want to explore myself. There is like one of our followers, one of the member of the Discord group, that he is an option expert. So he was saying, don't sell Bitcoin here, just buy options. Move some of your Bitcoin. I probably mean sell and buy option, or maybe exchange. We will have to understand it better what you mean, because he thinks he's avoiding tax repercussions by doing that, because basically you're going from one investment to another investment, so it doesn't. It will not be counted like if you are taking gains, but it will be a way of basically shifting and going from holding Bitcoin to actually kind of almost like betting against Bitcoin and making money while it's going down. So that is another tool that we are exploring, and maybe we can learn how to use it, and we can use it for our own advantage. So all these, from using this chart alone, so this is why we make it as a standalone project, but we added also this other part that, in my opinion, I know that it's another $5, but if you get the upgrade, that is a rocket scientist, then you get both, and you get also this other indicator. And to me, they are more than just 1 + 1. They are much more, because it's, again, all this information together that gives you like a much better picture, much fuller picture. And the interpretation of this thing, and let's see if I can pull out this great drawing that Saving Face did. And because we are recording it, actually it's worthwhile for me to try to do that. Let me see if I can. And let me see if you can actually see it at all. I'm going. So probably need to stop sharing and sharing this other thing. Let me see if I have all the information that I need. Because he made a very nice drawing. And by the way, if you guys don't know, Saving Face is like, basically like the best mod ever in the world. He's doing all this work for the community, and they've been very helpful all the way through.
I posted the picture in the chat
Okay,
if
the
you want
chat.
to use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, great. Yes, perfect. Copy image. I will put it.
I have the Bitcoin halving clock up, and in 59 seconds, we'll have 4 days left till the next halving.
Oh, wow.
Woohoo!
It's getting close. It's getting close.
I need to fix my clock then because it says that it's 20, but yeah, it's never.
Yeah, April 20th instead of 26th, yeah.
Okay, I need to fix it.
Do you
But
think
anyway.
that on top of that model we can add the cost of the mining of a Bitcoin along the years and see?
Or we
Usually
can
it will have the same path anyway with couple of difference, but at least we know what is the minimum.
Put it in the suggestion channels because I'm working I'm actually working on another indicator that I will add it to our arsenal that is all based on on-chain parameters. So basically you can visualize hash rate, you can visualize addresses, you can put them together, you can combine them, you can show mining cost. So I'm making a big, because you can actually use in TradingView, you can pull out, I did some research, you can pull out a bunch of, and in fact, you can even download it. I can show you when I will do a video on how to download it. So we have basically our own, because that was one of the issues, how do we get our own on-chain stuff, because there are some companies that charge a lot of money for them, but actually you can pull them out from TradingView. And that's why I'm making an indicator to do that, and then you can actually download the data. If you don't know, you actually can use TradingView to download anything you see on the chart. You can download it, and then you can actually analyze it yourself using Excel, using Python, and we will learn how to do all these things. But for sure, the mining cost is an important thing. So I will stop streaming for a moment because that will allow me to choose this screen that I wanted to show you, and this one. Yeah, okay. You see this picture, and again, click on it if you didn't click before. So this picture shows what this second indicator is, and it's basically that little graph, and maybe you're familiar with graph. I post it often on my X channel. And by the way, if you go under the resources, there is link to that little spiral, what we call the Bitcoin clock. Okay, so on the top right side of the picture, you see this clock, right? And and again, there are links under resources in the library where you can click. And it's also on my X account. If you go under my profile, then there is written view more. You can see there is a much longer description on my profile. And I put 2 links to these live charts. And one of them is this clock. So basically a clock that tells us time in this cycle. And what we did? We basically used this method. It's a mathematical method where you take whatever phenomenon you're studying it, and you can put it in a circle. And it's, let's say I wanted to study the seasons. I wanted to study the temperature on a particular location, and I want to display it in a circle. I can do that. Okay, maybe my radius. The radius will be, so let me explain the clock very quickly. The radius of this diagram, the temperature in San Diego, let's say I want to do a scientific graph, right? Because scientists try to display data a different way because it's not just a cool way of doing things, but it's also a way to learn things. Because we like circle, like we like straight line, and we learn from circle, right? Because it represents a cycle. So if I wanted to show temperature, I could do where my radius represents the temperature, right? So maybe every little tick, whatever it is, centimeters, whatever, represent a degree, right? And so the temperature will be the radius. And then the time in these clocks usually is the angle. So it's some people, one time I saw a comment, because people make all funny kind of comments on X, say, I would never have thought about using angle as time. I don't know what you're talking about unless you're Gen S, and from this I think the guy was a little bit older. He probably, Gen Z probably never used, or maybe many of you, they never used an analog clock. But you never been to your grandma, and so, or a tower, or, don't tell me you don't know how to use it. It's one of these things that if you are a human, at a certain point you encounter an analog clock, and if you had a little bit of curiosity, you will learn how to use it. It's not very difficult, right? It goes around the little hand, goes around the clock, and basically the big end represents hours, right? And there is the small end. We don't even use the small end, so forget about small end. Just the big end goes around the clock, and every 3 hours is 90 degrees, right? So if you start at 0, right, midnight, whatever it is, and then you go 3, that is 90 degrees, 180 degrees 6, 270 is 9, and then the cycle repeats. So it's nothing difficult. Humans are like that. We can make analogies between two different things, angle and time. Okay, so this is a very nice analogy, and same thing we do here, but instead of 90 degrees in 3 hours is 1 year. So because the relevant cycle for us is 4. In my example that I was giving before of the temperature, the periodicity will be 1 year, right? Because you want to kind of track the seasons, and so you made it so where basically as 1 year passes by, so basically every 90 degrees, if you're dealing with 1 year periodicity, will be 3 months, right? Because we have 12 months, so every 3 months will be 90 degrees. And that will be basically a season. So I could put summer on top, then I put autumn, then I have winter, and then I have spring, and then I have summer again, right? And so every corner of this clock will represent a season. Then I can look at how temperature changes, right? The radius will be very, very big at summer, and then it will be a little bit shorter at autumn, and then winter will be very short, and then in spring it will be again big. So it will be some kind of deformed circle, because the radius of the circle is not constant, right? It's going to change as the temperature changes. And I could do, really in fact cool to do it, maybe we can do it even as exercise when we learn Python, because some of this data you can download it. That will be really a cool exercise for everybody to learn how to code. We download data from the internet, and we make, everybody from different locations makes their own seasonal clock, and maybe you can plot the last few years and see if they are constant, maybe if there is global warming, etc. If you have several decades of data, we can see, because if really global warming is a real, the radius should become bigger and bigger. It should look like a spiral instead of being a circle, so kind of like a circle. There's very big fluctuations year after year, but it should stay kind of in the same if nothing changes. If there is like a global effect, instead of being just a circle, it will become bigger and bigger. And with assets, with Bitcoin, you have a spiral. It looks like a spiral because the price becomes bigger and bigger and bigger over time. And with gold, for example, you can try gold, another thing that we can do together, and it's a circle, because in particular in the last few years, it's not going anywhere. It stays there. It goes around the circle. Fiat, if you express fiat as a function of Bitcoin, is going to be like a fraction of Bitcoin. Is going to be a spiral, but now the spiral goes like inside a black hole, and it disappears to nothing. It's really cool to do that too. But basically, the spiral for Bitcoin becomes bigger and bigger. And you can plot the price. And if you look at my little chart, the one that updates online, it's basically the blue curve. That is the price itself. There's no average. It's day by day. You can always average it. And I have some diagrams where I average, and then it's crazy because it's so perfect. And then you see the white line in that spiral. That is the full model, what we call the full model. That white spiral that you see there, and is that white line basically the top graph, right? That one that tries to get to the top, the one that tries to get to the bottom. So in the spiral graph, what you see that the spiral, that when you look at the spiral, it's crazy how close it tracks the real price. It's the full model. And then you have an end, and the end basically is telling us where we are right now. And so we converted basically the cycle, where we are in the cycle, in a clock. So it's like time, So if right now, for example, I just look at the clock, it's but I can update and checking the resources where the links, because it's another tool that you can have to look at that clock. But it's something like close to 650. So basically, the idea as you go, and it's all marked under the little bumps, because what the little bump represents, that now we go from the clock to what we show in TradingView. It's basically a representation of this clock, because it's a very useful tool, again, in our arsenal, that will help us to understand the cycle. And so because of TradingView, technically it is possible. I have some people from this company, Lux Algo, that are helping me to create some of these indicators, and they show me, I don't know how they do it because they don't show the code, they don't share the code with me, but they're going to make it for us basically for free, and so we give them a percentage, whatever, when they're ready. But they are using all these big programmers that better than me, and they were able to show me that in TradingView you actually can do this thing. And I don't know how it's even possible, because I don't know how to, because TradingView seems all linear. It doesn't even know how to do a log chart, let alone spiral. But they say that there is a trick that you can use. I don't know what this trick is, so I came up with my own trick. My own trick is basically what I did two things. So imagine, see this little handle. A little handle, you can project a shadow, right? It's basically what we call the sine and cosine. So if you ever took a little trigonometry, you know that in theory, right, you can take the radius and then calculate sine and cosine. And it is the way to think about that. It's almost like, imagine there is a very bright light from above, from like wherever the end is, you shine it from above or below, right? And then it will project the shadow of the end on the y-axis or x-axis. The x-axis is going to be the cosine. The y-axis is going to be the sine. So in this case, like again, for example, see where the red line is in the graph. If I wanted to get the sine, I will have to shine it from the left, not from the top. The top I will get the cosine. The left, if I shine it from the left, the projection along the y-axis will be the sine. So it's not really a direct representation of the circle, but an indirect one. But it has the same characteristic in the sense that at different places of the end position, it will show this pattern of going around the circle, but it will look like a sine wave. And this is what you see here on the bottom panel. It's the sine wave. Now, why the sine wave is, they say, a sine wave? A sine wave has a negative component and a positive component. Well, I did one more thing, that is I flipped it. I flipped. So it's when you are in the negative component of the cycle, I make it positive because it's easier to see, it's easier to compare. So instead of having a negative sine wave, you have all the these bumps. But the bumps represent the positive part of the sine wave, the negative part of the sine wave, the positive part, and so on. And the way to know what we are talking about is to look at the labels, because we go through the cycle, right? We go through the cycle, and here we added numbers. So probably at a certain point, I'm going to add numbers too, so you know what, like here, because here we show the numbers to make a one-to-one comparison with the clock, but in the panel, we don't have a number. It does tell you the time in the end, where there are all these little writings that tell you the average price, the trend price, the bottom price, and so on. But it doesn't mark every single bump with a number. But it's something that I should do, because if you can reproduce something like this, would really be cool. It should not be difficult, because I can add it to that label. There is already a label. I can add a big, huge numbers like that. So we do that soon. But basically, you know where we are by looking at the number or the name of the label. So the name, for example, 12 corresponds to the 12 or 0, because it's basically the same thing, right? 0, 12, same stuff in this circular convention. So the top is 12, and you can see where it is, right? And you can see it's also marked red. And there are three lines, right, in the panel. There is the red one, there is the yellow one, and then the white one. The white one is the price. The price represented in this funny way of going around the circle. There is the red one. The red one represents the general trend. Okay, and now we can argue if we change the convention to make it more similar to the panel above or whatever. But in general, it represents this general trend. I know it sounds crazy that now it's a bump, but you understand why it's a bump, right? And you can see also in this very nice diagram that Saving Phase created, the bump is there because now we are transforming it in a sine wave, it's called rectified sine wave, where basically everything is positive, right? All the bumps are positive. So you can see here, right, that that little bump, it's bigger, it's above the yellow one when we are around 6, but it's the other way around when it's around 12, so the top, right, where the yellow one. And what is the yellow? The yellow is the full model. That, again, that model that is trying to grab the tops, grab the bottom, and so on. So you have both, and you can see it's actually interesting that they switch, right? Why they switch? Because when we are close to a bottom, like I told you, remember what the full model is trying to do, is trying to kind of come closer as possible to these tops. So of course it will be above the general trend, because the red is the general trend. When we are in the other region, close to the bottom, you will have the other way around, because the yellow curve is trying to reach the bottom in that case. It's trying to do both, right? When we're close to the top, it's trying to get to the top. When you're trying to the bottom, it's trying to get to the top. The middle stays where? In the middle, but it's the yellow, in a sense, is the yellow that is moving. It's not really that they're switching. The red doesn't care, stays in the middle, and it's the yellow that is going above because it's trying to reach the top, and it's going below because it's trying to reach the bottom. So it's basically that one that is doing something funny. But it's cool because, it's telling you where we are, right? We can even try to color code it maybe a little bit with a transparent shading. I can try to do also that, put like maybe different shading in between the two curves and color code it. When you're a bull market, we make it green. When you're or red, if it is danger, whatever you like, whatever you think is better. Maybe we can put it green. You like green? We can make it green. Yeah, like in the other chart above, like in I don't know, whatever you like. I think green is I want to buy, red I want to sell. Maybe that is the best convention. The chart above, we can make it into an indicator, but it's mostly a chart I post in my X that I do offline. I don't use TradingView. But if you like that type of chart, we can make an indicator like that too, with color-coded dots. there are a million indicators that we can make. But they understand better now where it goes. And then everything has its name. So we use this convention. It's 12 is top, then 3 is the bottom. And notice in the chart how incredibly, we can go back to the chart, but I want to show you how well aligned these bottoms are with the real bottoms. It's incredible. And then many people are confused about 6 because when I posted this on X, there is always a guy. I don't know why. Maybe he's watching on his phone and it's so small and you cannot see it. But I will be curious. And on your phone, I don't use my phone much for X. I'm sitting in front of a computer and using the computer. I know I sound like a boomer. I'm not. I am Gen X. And usually I'm up to date like a young person. But I like to use my computer. I don't like to use everything with the phone. I know that some people just live on the phone all their lives, but you can make a chart bigger, right, on a phone? Why don't you make the chart bigger and try to see what that little blue thing says? Some people don't, and there is always somebody that says, do you mean that we reach the top? That we are ready, because we see that we are a little bit beyond 6, right? We are 650. We look at the chart and say, do you mean we are ready to reach the top with will it be not another top? And usually they are polite because it's a question. I never saw anybody say, fuck you, we will reach the top soon, this is now the top. They are usually polite, but they are still confused. I don't understand, because maybe I should make that little label bigger. How do we avoid that confusion? I don't know. But it says clearly that is not a top. In fact, you can see where we are in the cycle. It's at 6, right? It's just like an important part of this cycle, because it's one of these corners. And it's kind of like we are saying we are leaving the bear market behind, and we are going in this more bullish phase of the cycle. It's a very important transition. So this is why we call it transition from bear to bull. This is what the blue color label says. So I hope everybody understands it, and there is no confusion there. And then, this is when basically it's kind of like spring, if you want. Actually, let's see the season. If you think about the season, let's say that this is summer is 12, and then 3 is autumn, right? 6 is winter. Okay, 6 is winter, and 3 and 9 is spring, right? So 6 is the end. In fact, it makes sense because it comes very close to be a little bit before the halving. And remember, I told you it's like Christmas. So it's like Christmas time, right? So it's like the solstice. In fact, we can even use the equinox and solstice, analogy. It's like the solstice. It's the winter solstice. The winter, it's over. It's the longest. That 6 is the longest night of the year. So the day after, you will start to go down. The days are going to be, the nights are going to be shorter. The days are going to be longer until you reach 9, when finally spring. And spring is when the real bull starts. See, this is a beautiful analogy about the season. These are the seasons of Bitcoin. In summer, and finally there is this apotheosis, it's incredible, there is the top, and then, we start to go towards autumn, and the cycle repeats, okay? And so if we go back to the chart, so let me again, I will stop for a moment here before I switch. Do you have any questions about this graph? And what this graph means, and how to use it, and so on and so on. Any question at all? Okay, I'm going to assume that everything is clear. Everything is clear. All right. So, and then let's finally jump to the chart once more. And I'm going to close these. I'm going to reopen. Let's see if I find the chart again. Okay, I'm going back to the chart. All right. And so now you see the chart. And you see now, if you compare it, right, the chart to now you have a understanding. So again, I'm not trying to force you to get another indicator or whatever, but I think it's so useful that it's worthwhile to get it, and don't feel you're in a rush. Do it when you think it's a good idea. But together, I think they are formidable. They are much better because it's true that we have a white line, etc. But there is so much more information here. And again, we do want to have more than one thing converging. So this is, you use it together and you say, okay, wow, okay, I'm coming close to this bottom here, $16,000. See, imagine if you added this chart, around December of 22, and the chart was telling you, yeah, this is a good time to, sell the other share you have, maybe do a very conservative Christmas gift to your friends, um, ask your friends to give you Bitcoin as a gift, or whatever, and buy Bitcoin, because we were very close. And everybody was going crazy at the time because it was FTX, where people were saying we were going down to $5,000. And I was actually posting on Facebook saying, no, this is the bottom. I called this bottom. And look at this, it's completely crazy. It's really telling you this is where the bottom is, near this cusp. Remember what this cusp is supposed to be that phase change, right? That particular 3 o'clock, there is not really, basically that is where autumn ends, right? So we're going to go from the top of it is summer to autumn, and so we have the bottom. It takes about 1 year to do that. We are 1 year downwards. We are there. And the chart tells you where, and today, basically we are a little bit beyond 6. We left 6 behind, but it's basically the end of winter, and now we're going towards spring. And I try to project here. I'm going to work on this a little bit more, but you see how we project the price in the future, right, through the power law. And I'm trying to project also this curve so you can see where the next cusp is going to be. It's work in progress, so it doesn't look that great, but I'm going to add more details where we can project it. I think TradingView doesn't allow us to go beyond 500 days. But it's still going to be useful because you know where the projection is. And you can see, right, if you scroll, here goes the top, here the transition to full bull, this is where basically spring starts, and then you have this crazy period where the price goes really crazy, the triangles are the halvings. And so again, here, you have something, and you can, another nice thing about this, you can identify different places in the previous cycles where we're similar to where we are right now, right? So you can look at where we are a little bit beyond the 6 o'clock mark. And so we are kind of here, like here. Hopefully there is nothing like COVID happening again, but we are kind of there where basically we left winter behind us and we are preparing to go towards spring. Then when spring comes, this is when the real boom will start. And same thing, bottom here, look at this. How incredible it is, right? We are very, very close to that bottom, right here. Incredible. It's really precise. When anybody says this is not precise, we don't know what we're talking about. We never look at this. We never studied it. Top, transition to full bull, again, springtime, you see? So when the market was actually leaving this bottom line and we started to go towards the top. And you can check all the other. Okay, again here, bottom. Now it's perfect. It's 100% perfect. No, but you know that after a year, basically we were very close. This is when you want to do really DCA art. Again, top, transition to bull, and we don't model this bubble. But basically, the entire history, this thing really worked like clockwork. So, and we are trying to work to other, I have several other indicators. I have an indicator that actually works with ETF flows, because actually we can pull ETF flows from TradingView, and I'm creating indicator based on that, because maybe that can help us even from doing daily trading. Maybe, if we see there is a pattern there. I'm trying to add more on-chain parameters. So we are really working hard to make this as useful as possible for you all. And plus the community is contributing every single day. There is progress. There are people adding interesting conversation tools and so on. So make use of all these. I hope that you join the community and you find it fun, interesting, and you learn something every day. I'm going to open the floor for a couple of questions. Unless you have any questions, we are going to finish very soon, like maybe in the next 5-10 minutes. But if you have any question, please go ahead. And you can ask question via voice or writing in the chat window, one of the others. Okay.
I don't have a question, but potentially, if you just want to make it easy on yourself, projecting your model on the spiral indicator, if you do it just in a straight line, I bet it will be a lot easier. Almost like a bar projecting, let's make it like, say, level 0. And then you just have a transition bar that tells you from, year to year, but then it just projects out straight, and then you don't have to work on any angled math, I guess you would say, for the spiral part. You could show where the spiral should land versus trying to show the projection of the spiral.
Do both, in particular because we cannot go beyond too much.
Sure.
If we do it in this way, but maybe the bar allows me to do that. But it's not difficult. It's just that I started. I think I know how to do it. It's just like a little tedious thing I need to add in terms of the code. And I'm doing like a for loop right now. I just project a couple of points and then connect them together. But it's better to do it with a for loop. And TradingView, anything you do in TradingView is not trivial, so it takes a little bit of time. But it's not a big deal. So I will do it very soon, where we have at least up to 500 days we can have this projection.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've already done it myself, you know what I mean, on my chart and indicators. Right. It's all the same data, you know what I mean? It's a timestamp system, so it's very easy to mark out, just a year, and you can go on the weekly chart or a 2-day chart to see more time into the future if you are, say, trying to mark December 2025.
Further away.
Yeah. You can just go up 1 or 2 time frames and then mark it and come back to your original time frame.
Yeah.
And it won't be perfect.
Yeah,
but it will be there whenever that time is available on the daily chart.
Yeah, I can do both, and because I like to see anyway the little circle being projected in the future. I think it's cool. I can do both. So please, if you ever get stuck or you have any question, feel free to ask question in the channel, but also, DM me, if you need, if you think that you need to work on certain things or you're not happy about something, just discuss it with us, so we can try to fix it and improve it. Any other questions or any other comments or any final thoughts about anything?
On my side, it's really crystal clear. I'm really amazed by the model. It's so obvious. I mean, compliment. It's really
It's so hard. It's almost hard to believe, isn't it? It's so simple.
Exactly.
It's hard to believe. Yeah.
Exactly.
I know.
It's so simple, but it's so clear.
Yeah.
That
somebody commented, they said, it's like cheating in an exam or something,
It's almost that. Exactly. It's exactly that. But
it's not about me. It's this is what I repeat every single time. It's about Bitcoin. It's how amazingly this thing
Absolutely, yeah.
is, how precise, how regular, and and how powerful it is, because it doesn't care about anybody. Say, okay, I'm going to do my own thing, I'm going to do it. Doesn't care if you're trying to game me. I don't care. Yeah, sure, you can affect the price locally, but the overall trend and the overall behavior is going
Yeah,
to
but
be there.
it's going back to the track. I mean,
Yeah.
that there is those cycle, but at the end of the day, it's going back to the track. So this
And
is
the
what
people that
it's amazing about
dismiss,
Bitcoin.
yeah, and the people that dismiss it, ignore it, want to come up with all sort of excuses, they are going to lose, because we are betting not against us or not against our theory. They are betting against both Bitcoin. In the end of the day, again, if all this is true, and it seems to be true, and if there's a reason to really change in the future, because I just done this for 15 years, and by the way, we have been making prediction all this time, because it's not that people started to know about this, but we have predictions since like 5 years ago, and I show this on my X channel, where we say, okay, this is what it's going to do. If you go on my YouTube, we have a video of it is 3 years ago, where I talk about the model, and I have the same exponents, the same lines, everything 3 years ago. I mean, whoever made in the financial world prediction 3 years in advance or 5 years in advance, and they have been true in this way, right? In this general trend thing.
Yeah.
But like I show you right now, the criticism that is not precise, etc., is garbage, because it's not true, because it's not that Bitcoin can be randomly at any place in this, two order, in this one standard deviation up, one standard deviation above. It does it in a very regular fashion. That is the other component to understand, and we got it. We got it through these spirals. We got it through these cycles. We got it through this deviation from the trend. It's the entire picture that you need to understand, And when you get the entire picture, it's almost like you say, I cannot believe it. Has to be. It looks almost like it is wrong, Has to be something wrong, But you see, the beauty with TradingView is that you cannot cheat, right? You cannot cheat with TradingView, because TradingView is all based on the data point up to that point.
Yes.
It's not that
Yes.
You can go back and change things and try to make it fit or whatever. You cannot do that. It needs to be adaptive, and so you can see and in fact you can do even back testing. Some people did it, where if you pay the subscription, it allows you to do back testing, where it doesn't show you the future, it only show you the past, and then you can use the model where, and I like this adaptive one, because that could be the other criticism. Somebody can say, hey, you are adapting it, you are using the future to predict the past. We are not, because this adaptive doesn't know anything about the future. The adaptive curve that you see there, it's all based on past data. I did it on purpose also for that. It has no clue about future points. So it's not like where we use the present and say, oh, let's use all the data now, draw the line, because you can do that and see where it was fitting a few years ago. No, the thing that you see here is all adaptive. The below curve, no. The below curve, and in fact, one day we could even do adaptive spirals. But right now, the top one is adaptive, the other one is fixed. But you can see still, that we work together very well, and you don't really need it, because it's so regular that we are really not doing anything stupid or crazy, of cheating, because always they're saying we synchronize it to the
But
first bubble.
this is what amazed me. It's so regular. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what's amazing me. It's so regular. I mean,
it is.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. So hopefully
this is the first asset that I see that there is a formula that I mean, the asset behave so perfectly.
Like a clock.
Like a clock. It's like a clock.
And and believe me, this, many people say, well, but now that you're telling everybody, will not people try to run again, use this information to trade against us, etc. I don't think so, for a couple of reasons. First of all, if a theory is correct, it will simply reinforce these loops, will make them stronger, if anything. And second, I don't think so, because this is what happened all the time when people try to do something with Bitcoin. What was weird, like for example when we did all these numeral things, etc. Bitcoin found a way to protect itself. It wants really to keep this cycle. It wants to, the mining fee, the transaction fees became so big that people started to stop to do stupid things. You cannot really play with this system and trying to push it in a direction where it doesn't want to go. And the other thing, the last point is, many people don't even want to deal with this. They don't want to believe it. They don't want to trust it. They don't care about it. They hate it because we are not promising we are going to be millionaire the day after tomorrow. So we are still a really big, small minority. Because if you take it seriously, imagine you take it seriously 100%, and then telling you this is what we should have a community of 10,000 people. We should not be 300, right? I mean, everybody that
exactly.
And it's not that we are charging $500 a month. We are charging $5. It is basically nothing. We are. It's really so silly that somebody wasn't want to use this information. And it's so displayed so nicely, and we have a community to talk about it. So I don't understand it, and I'm okay, because you know what? I'd rather work with a small group, focus, and they understanding what is going on, and they are clever people, than dealing with 10,000 people that are basically there because they want to make money, and they want to they don't appreciate what we are giving them. So I think it's exactly the same thing with Bitcoin. We are where we should be, and we are going ahead, and nobody's going to stop us. We are working in the true spirit of Bitcoin. So that is the bottom line, really. Okay. Unless anybody has a final question, a final comment, or anything, I'm going to basically end up here, 1 or 2 minutes. But again, welcome. Thank you so much for all your support, and little by little, try to get familiar with everything in the server. Go on YouTube if you didn't watch the videos that my son made. He made a series about the theory, the bubbles. We're coming up with new videos. Please subscribe to the channel. Watch the videos when you have a chance, and have fun. All right, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
So much.
And saving face, if you don't mind to save these under resources.
Yep, no problem.
Great. Thank you so much. I want to ask a quick final question. Anybody object for me to upload this video on YouTube, because I know that you're showing your name? If you object, I will try to do it maybe tonight or tomorrow. Contact me if you are one of you guys that are attending today, because I don't want to show your names on YouTube if you care about that. If you don't care because it's anonymous enough or whatever, then I will post it on YouTube. But if you have an objection, I would rather respect your wishes, and so DM me and say I would rather not to have my name. Maybe I can delete it or something. Maybe my son can do that. We can cover it. But let me know if there is any security issue with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I will
on my side, it's my true name. No worries. You can publish it.
Cool. So I will post it on YouTube, so more people can benefit from it and they can see, because I want to reach more people, but the one that truly are interested. Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
Actually, I reached about the channel via Fred Krueger. This is where I heard about it. Yeah.
He's a great friend, a great supporter. I love him a lot, and I'm very glad that he's on our side. Because any clever person that sees knows. I don't know if you ever heard him. He has this expression. He says, if all this is due to chance, as the same probability.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I
right.
heard
It
it.
says you
Yeah,
can go on
I
top
heard
of
it.
an Empire State Building and drop a coin on a Dixie cup underneath, right, on the bottom of a building, and you actually get it in that little cup. That is a chance of this being on due to some random phenomena. It's obvious it is not. So anyway, yeah. Okay, guys, I'll give you a big
Anyway,
strong gun,
thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, guys.
See you
Thank you.
soon.
Have a beautiful night. Thank you.
Come
Bye-bye.
tomorrow or Thursday.
everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.